Feel.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Wick versus Sherman. Step forward, please.
Geraldine Wick is suing her ex-son-in-law, Rusty Sherman, for intentionally breaking a cell phone she bought for her grandson. Rusty says his son broke the rules, so he broke the cell phone.
This used to be your son-in-law.
Yes.
He and your daughter are divorced.
Yes.
You are remarried?
Yes.
And you have custody of the son of the union of your daughter and
That's
yourself.
correct. Yes.
This is what you allege. In order to keep in touch with your grandson, you gave him a cell phone.
No, we purchased a cell phone, and we gave him the privileges and the bill.
That's what you say.
Okay.
I have grandchildren, too.
Yes.
You gave him a cell phone. Mm-hmm. You paid the bill, and he kept in touch with you, and I assume his mother.
Yes.
Mr. Sherman, in a peak of anger, broke the cell phone. You want him to pay for it. Mm-hmm. He says his son broke the rules. That's why he broke the cell phone. That's your response, correct?
Yep.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Geraldine Wick says her ex-son-in-law, Rusty Sherman, purposely broke a cell phone she bought for her grandson.
When did you give him the cell phone?
We purchased the cell phone in June 2006. Before we purchased the phone, we had called Rusty and asked him if it was okay. We would pay for the gift. We would pay the service charges on it monthly for his birthday.
And you said okay.
Yeah, as long as my son could use the phone responsibly and follow the rules.
Okay. And on what date did you break the phone?
That would be on June 26th of 2007.
So he had it for a year. Now tell me what precipitated you breaking the phone, Mr. Sherman.
On the 25th of June, the day before, was the day he was supposed to be coming home from 2 weeks. And he was supposed to be home at noon because I go to work at 1:30. And he called me from his cell phone at approximately 10 o'clock that morning and asked if he could stay later.
This was during the summer?
Yes.
Okay. So?
We negotiated a time between 5 and 6 o'clock that evening.
Were you home from work at that time?
No, I work 3 to 11, so I'm at work at that time.
So why would you want him home between 5 and 6?
Well,
it's a non-school night.
No, it wasn't a school night, but my wife works the grave shift, so in order for her to leave, because we have 2 younger children also, we need somebody there as far as being a little bit responsible, you know, because he is 16.
So you needed a babysitter?
Well, kind of, yeah.
What do you mean, kind of? I mean, I'm going to get to... So you needed your son to come home to babysit for his 2 younger siblings.
Correct, yes.
When your wife went to work.
Yes.
Keep going.
And the day went on, I went to work, and 6 o'clock came and went, and it was already 7, and my wife called me up at work to let me know that Aaron was not home and that he had not called. And 9 o'clock came around, and I basically called him, got no answer.
Well, who babysat for the children when your wife went to work?
My son got home at 10 o'clock.
Well, what time did your wife leave for work?
10 o'clock.
So he came home at 10?
Yep.
Time to babysit?
Yeah.
Great. And?
He had no excuse of why he was 4 hours late. Didn't really talk to my wife at all. He just basically ignored her. And she went to work, and the next day I confronted him and asked him why he was 4 hours late. And he said, I don't know.
And what did you say to him?
I said, why don't you know? You were 4 hours late. I says, I even called your cell phone. Did you get any of the messages? He said, yeah. And I says, you couldn't call me back? I don't know. No answer. At this time, I was pretty upset. You know, he couldn't give me an excuse why he was late. And I basically asked him, I says, where's your cell phone? And he gave me the phone, and I asked him if he remembered the last time that I took it away and what I had said to him. And he said, yeah. I said, yeah, I'd permanently take the cell phone away. And I snapped it in half and threw it on the ground.
Well, that's not the right thing to do, Mr. Sherman.
Well, the way I looked at it is he was acting irresponsible and didn't know how to use the cell phone.
So you had to act irresponsibly to show him that that's what happens when you grow up? You can act irresponsibly?
No. No.
Yeah, I can understand that. Actually, I can understand you saying, listen, this is my home. You live here. These are the rules of the house. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take your phone away because you broke the rules again, and take the phone and put it away.
But
what I don't get is this fit of anger that inspired you to break it and throw it on the floor. That's something that a teenager would do. That's not something that an adult does. You don't see that?
No.
Well, that's your problem, Mr. Sherman. That, quite frankly, is your problem. You know, if you had bought your son a cell phone and you said, now, give me the cell phone that I bought for you, because you've lost the ability to use it because you broke the rules, and instead of handing it to you, he took it, snapped it into it, and threw it on the ground. What would you do to him?
I'd probably be mad.
You're absolutely right, because you would think he acted like a spoiled brat. That's what you did. Absolutely the wrong thing. You have no case, by the way.
I don't.
No, you have no case, by the way, against him, because there's no question in my mind, Miss Wicht, that you gave him this phone for his birthday, and because you're annoyed with his father for the way he treated the property, you're suing him. But you have no case, because once you give away the cell phone, it no longer belongs to you. It belongs to your grandson. But I'm telling Mr. Sherman that he did absolutely the wrong thing. He didn't do the wrong thing by taking the cell phone away if he broke the rules. He did the wrong thing by acting like a baby. And you're not supposed to act like a baby to your teenage child who you're supposed to be teaching to do the right thing. There was certainly no reason for him to have to be back at 5 or 6 o'clock. You know, he doesn't have to keep your wife company, his mother and his grandmother. And he was responsible enough to come home at 10 o'clock when he probably figured he was due for babysitting duty. So he came home at 10 o'clock. I probably would have given him that curfew to begin with and said, if you want to stay with your mother, just get home. Time to babysit for your brother and sister. I mean, that would have been the right thing to do. But you wanted to say, I'm still in charge. So you get home at 5 or 6 o'clock. 5 or 6 o'clock, who's he going to eat with? Instead of eating with his mother, he's going to eat with his stepmother. What for? Not necessary. So you owe your son an apology for misbehaving, because you did misbehave. You emotionally misbehaved, and you physically misbehaved. Having said that, you don't have a case, Ms. Wicht. Do you understand?
I understand, but...
Very good. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm going to buy him another cell phone.
Well, I guess I'll have to mail it back
It gets broke again, it gets broke again.
because I have custody and I have every right for that.
Hazelton?
Hazeltine is my mother.
Miss Hazeltine, according to your complaint, you, not your daughter, but you, rented a room from the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
And you found that room on something on the internet called Craigslist
Yes, ma'am.
and signed a month-to-month lease.
I did.
When did you sign that?
March 1st, 2007.
Where had you been living before that?
I was residing in an apartment which I shared with my daughter, and she decided to move out on her own and get her own apartment. So I thought it would be good for me to move into a place where I could save a little money, maybe meet some new people, until I was able to purchase my own home.
How long had you been renting rooms?
I've been renting rooms for about 4 years.
What kind of property do you have?
I have a home in Elk Grove, California.
How many bedrooms?
5 bedrooms.
How many tenants do you have?
Currently 1.
How many tenants did you have when you had Miss Hazeltine?
Just myself and Cindy.
And it was a month-to-month tenancy.
It was.
It is your claim that Miss Neese terminated your tenancy without proper notice, and you want moving expenses, your security deposit back, and you want damages because she, you claim, assaulted both you and your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Neese says that you are not entitled to your security deposit back because you promised that you were going to stay through April, and you didn't. It is her claim that you actually assaulted her. So let's find out when the trouble began. You moved in March 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
About approximately a week after I moved in, I noticed some strange behavior from Miss Neese. When I was in the home alone, and especially when I had company over, I would notice some outbursts. Seems she was talking to herself, kind of laughing out loud. She'd walk through the home when I'd have company over and bang anything that would make noise, opening and closing compulsively the garage door. The washer was close to my room, so she'd slam the washer door up and down.
Got it. Let's move on.
Okay. And I became just really uncomfortable in the home. I'd find myself, I'd sign up for overtime, I'd go to the gym, anything to avoid coming home because her behavior was really disturbing and uncomfortable. And so I noticed that it became more obvious when I had company over, so I decided to talk to her about it. So maybe I was doing, and so I came home, and so I knocked on her door. She didn't answer, so that's when I called her cell phone, and I found that she was actually at home in her room. And she came out, and I had a conversation with her, and I said, is there something bothering you, lately? Because I've noticed that you've been slamming things around, banging things. And her response was, bang? I don't bang. I don't bang anything. I said, oh, okay. Well, apparently, when my boyfriend's over, does he make you uncomfortable? No, I don't have a problem with your boyfriend. And I said, well, one night he spent the night here, and it seemed that you were really uncomfortable with that, and that's when I noticed the most noise. She goes, well, I didn't even know he spent the night. I apologize.
Was it in your lease agreement?
It was, ma'am, in my lease lease agreement.
Okay.
And I said, I respect that. And I said, well, that's something that I moved out. And I would go ahead and give you a proper 30-day notice. And she goes, okay, well, that's fine.
Fine. What day was that? That was in
Okay,
March?
that was, yes, the 19th of March. I sent her a copy, certified mail, which she...
May I see it, please?
Absolutely. That was sent regular mail as well as certified mail, which I have a receipt there. Ms. Neese
Okay.
never picked up the certified copy.
Okay, and you received this letter terminating
Yes.
her tenancy.
Yes, I have
Fine.
it right here.
Good. So what happened?
Okay,
What was
so
next?
things were a little still uncomfortable in the house, so I decided to avoid her as much as possible. About a week after giving that notice to her, I came home and found that she was interviewing another tenant, which I gave her the privacy. I had went and cleaned up and got ready to go back out again.
I haven't
She
even
then,
interviewed.
she then,
You have a turn. Right now, plaintiff is talking.
Okay.
Go ahead. After I had finished and cleaned up and the person had left, she had come and spoke with me and said, okay, well, when are you going to be moving your furniture out? I understand, I received your 30-day notice. And I go, well, I can start putting it in storage soon if you really need the space, because she was saying that she wanted to offer that space to the tenant. She goes, well, that's your right to keep it there for the remainder of the month. And, things seemed to be okay then, but she's still exhibiting some behaviors that I just didn't feel that.
I understand. You were moving out for a reason. Keep going.
Absolutely. And so I had received a phone call on March 31st. I was at the gym, and I received a message from Miss Neese. And on the message, she says that she's demanding that she have a face-to-face meeting with me and discuss the 30-day notice agreement and finalize me moving out. And so I was kind of, I didn't
Just
understand.
tell me what happened. Don't
okay, so
tell
I
me what
called
you
her
were
up,
thinking.
and I said, I got your message. What's the deal with me having to come over? And she goes, well, I want you to speak to me face to face. I gave you the same respect when you gave me your 30-day notice. And I said, well, I really don't want to have any confrontation with you. You're making me feel really uncomfortable and threatened. She goes, well, if you do not come home right now, I'm going to lock you out. I said, you can't lock me out. And she goes, I'm telling you, if you don't come home right now, I'm going to lock you out. At that point, she disconnected the phone call. Me and my boyfriend were at the gym. I said, come on with me. She's threatening to lock me out. I need to go home. When we got there, me and my boyfriend entered the home, and Miss Neese was in the kitchen. She had already taken all my groceries out of the fridge and out of the cupboard and had set them up on the counter as if she was moving me out. I said, what are you doing? Please put my things back. You can't move me out. What's the problem? And at that point, she came around the counter of the kitchen with her finger in my face, and she goes, girl, you better shut your mouth, because in the name of Jesus, I'm going to smack the devil out of you. At that point, my boyfriend placed his body in between us because she was this close in my face, and he's that face to me, and he's like trying to block her. And she turned around, and she swung about backside of him and hit me upside the head. At that point, I grabbed my cell phone. She grabbed her cell phone. I called the police. She called 911. The police arrived, a female police officer. Police officer went and spoke to Miss Neese. Miss Neese had stated that she was going to be locking me out of the house, and the officer had stated, legally, ma'am, you cannot lock me. So don't you tell me how to run my
Can I
household.
see the police report, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge and daughter Danielle Ireland claims Cynthia's former landlord, Sidney Neese, is guilty of an assault. Sidney claims it was the plaintiffs who assaulted her.
Now, when did the incident happen with your daughter?
Same day.
Same day?
It was a little bit later on that day when I had came. The police officers had actually left at a certain point, and my mother had called my boyfriend and I to show up. She had to go and get a U-Haul to get all of her things, and we both ended up showing up at the exact same time as my mom with the U-Haul, and that's when I arrived.
And what happened with Miss Neese?
Well, we came into the house, and she was in her bedroom, had shut the door, was in her bedroom, like the police officer told her to stay in the room. I went into this little front area that was right next to her bedroom door and started to grab furniture. And I grabbed this big glass top that was to one of my mom's coffee tables, and I started going out. And then Miss Neese came out of her room and was really mad and angry, and was directing a lot of anger at myself and at Ryan, saying that he didn't have any right to be in the house, and that was saying something about how we couldn't go through the garage door. She was telling us we had to go through the front door for some reason, and I was standing on my way to the garage door. She was really livid and saying that we couldn't be in her house, that we had no right to be in there, and then she comes up behind me and grabs me by the back of my neck and kind of pushes me and then kind of hits me. And then Miss Neese turned around to my mom and starts getting in her face, and she's throwing her hands wildly and stuff, and then she goes to make a fist like she was going to strike my mom, and I grabbed her arm and I put it down and I said, don't touch my mom. And then it just turned into a scuffle where she was just being really wild.
Okay. Miss Neese, I would like you first to tell me your version of the events of the 31st of March.
Okay, Saturday, March 31st, I initiated a call to Cindy to finalize things in the matter. She had sent me a letter March 20th indicating that she was going to move out at the end of April. And so I wanted to finalize things as far as obtaining the rent for April.
She already told you that she was going to give you the rent April 3rd in the letter.
Right. In my lease, it indicates, in the initial agreement that we signed, it indicates that if any rent is not paid time or in full, that they will forfeit the security. That's in item number 2 in our lease.
What difference does that make? She already said, I'll pay you your rent on April 3rd. It's in her letter that she sent to you.
Because I just like to do things decently and in order. So
this is decently and in order. You called her on her cell phone.
I called her on Saturday and I asked, because she had initiated an appointment in mid-March. She wanted to see if her boyfriend could stay overnight. And she knocked on my door. Actually, I was napping, and she knocked on my door until...
Shh, don't interrupt her. I'm just asking you what you told her on March 31st. You called her, she's at the gym.
On March 31st, I asked her if she had any time in the afternoon. I said I'd appreciate if we could finalize things and, you know, get the rent. So then she started cursing at me, and she started getting really violent on the phone and calling me up.
Did you tell her she had to come home or else you were going to change the locks?
No, absolutely not.
Did you take her food out of the refrigerator? I'm speaking.
No, I didn't actually.
Did you take her food out of the refrigerator and place it on the counter?
No, not...
Did you tell the police when they arrived that you were planning on changing the locks and locking her out?
When she started cursing at me on the phone, because she, by the way, she's been pretty violent before. When she came home from the gym, she came home and she kicked me, which I have a photo of the bruise on my leg from when she kicked me then. At that point, I had called the police, and because I had wanted to have her arrested. So when they came over, they kind of separated us, got both versions of what had happened. And so I didn't have her arrested at that point.
The police found you very agitated, Ms. Neese. According to all 3 police officers who arrived at the scene...
Well, she assaulted me. I have pictures. She admitted biting me on the arm.
There was an altercation. There's no question there was an altercation.
Well, I actually didn't touch her or her daughter. Both of them came home. She called her daughter, and they both came in, and then they assaulted me in my room. And that's why I had called the police a second time. When I was on the phone with the police, I was terrified. They said, "Where are you?" I said, "I locked myself in my room because I was afraid they were going to come in again." I have pictures of the door and from when they tried to barge in my door. And I have pictures of all the bruises. They hit me.
What do you do for a living, Ms. Neese?
I'm an insurance broker.
For a company?
For myself. I have my own agency. And I'm going to school for court reporting.
So you operate out of your home or out of an office?
I'm usually on the road, but my office is out of my home, yes.
So you don't have an office other than at your home?
Correct.
And how long have you been doing that?
5 years.
You make a living at that?
Yes.
The last time you had a tenant prior to the plaintiff, what was that tenant's name?
Prior to Cynthia? She was the first tenant in that home.
So you'd never had a tenant? Not
in this home. When I was in the Bay Area, I've had tenants. She was the first tenant in this home.
Judge, I have some information regarding the tenants in the Bay Area.
Cynthia Aseltine and daughter Danielle Ireland are accusing Cynthia's former landlord, Sidney Neese, of 2 assaults.
Now, you wanted to say something?
Yes, San Mateo County Courts, there's 3 claims regarding Ms. Neese in regards to tenant-landlord. 2 times she was a defendant, and 1 she was a plaintiff regarding the same situation, withholding deposits and so forth. Actually, I didn't print it out, but if you go to San Mateo County Courts, it is public record.
You had 3 landlord and tenant actions while you were there, 1 as a plaintiff and 1 as a defendant?
I'm not sure what she's referring to, but it was just probably a lack of, my income. But with regard to this...
No, I'm not talking about... I'm asking you whether you had 3 previous landlord and tenant actions.
I think there was 1, and it was just because I was having problems, with cash flow, but they have since been paid back.
One was that she put a stop pay on a deposit as a tenant herself.
That sound familiar?
I'm not sure what she's referring to, but I would appreciate if we could talk about this case today and why, I don't believe that I owe her the security deposit.
You absolutely owe her the security deposit. There's no question that you owe her the security deposit. Okay. You told her to leave. I've read the police report. You said you wanted her out that day. She left. She did not stay the month of April, despite the fact that she said she was planning on paying April's rent. You absolutely owe her the security deposit. There's no question about that.
Well, because she assaulted me, and I had to put out expense. She didn't return the key when she moved out.
I believe that this was an unfortunate circumstance that everybody's tempers got very flared up.
Actually,
on that.
mine did not.
Well, not according to
And
the
I was
Miss Neese. According to the
I
police,
was
the only
blatantly assaulted by her and her
Miss
daughter,
Neese,
and her boyfriend had to pull them off of me.
And the police department.
when
I'm
she
speaking.
moved
When I'm
out-
speaking, don't speak.
Okay.
Clearly, not only did you claim that they were assaulted, you
I have
also. I'm
photographs of all
speaking.
the
I'm
assaults.
speaking. Do you hear me speaking? You also claimed conspiratorial behavior on the part of the police. You weren't satisfied with the police officer who came. You demanded their supervisor. 2 supervisors arrived. They couldn't calm you down. You demanded their supervisor. So everybody is in a conspiracy against you. There's something. All of that is clearly contained in the police. I assume you have a copy of it.
The copy that I obtained from them does not contain that information. That's not what they had given me. They
May
gave
not
me
be what
one
they
line.
gave you, but that's what I have.
Okay, can I show you the pictures of my bruises?
Absolutely.
And actually, I still have them on my body.
Absolutely. Show me.
This is a picture of when she bit me in the arm.
She absolutely acknowledges that she
And
bit you in
then,
the arm, and she
a
says she
bruise
bit you.
on my
I'm
breast.
speaking. Don't you want to hear me speaking? She absolutely acknowledges that she bit you in the arm so that you would let her go.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Okay, can I tell my version of the story, ma'am?
When I
Yes,
contacted
do.
the police department.
Okay. What had transpired, basically, the whole issue, when she first, in the initial ad, I indicated no alcohol, no overnight guests, and she breached both of those. She was drinking a lot while she was there, and she was having overnight guests, her boyfriend. And I never even said anything because I didn't want to get into any confrontation. But then she mentioned, she talked to me that one day, and I said, no overnight guests. Are you okay with that?
So she gave you
said
notice.
yes.
Listen, I got it. I have other things to do today. She said, I'm moving. She sent you an appropriate notice that she's moving. Move on with it. Get to the 31st.
Right, but then she didn't pay the rent, and so I wanted to...
No. She has no obligation to pay the rent on March 31st. None. And if you demanded that she come home from the gym...
I didn't demand that she came home. I called her on the cell phone, and I said, do you have any time
Yeah.
this afternoon? What's your availability?
I don't think you should have roommates. I don't think you should rent rooms to anybody. I don't. I think that you are a very, very nice lady who clearly should live alone, not with anybody else, because you can't make rules for adults. I mean, she's an adult lady. She's not a teenager. You didn't rent to a teenager. And if you don't like other people living in your house because other people aren't going to do things the way you do,
Well, it's not that I want to do things the way I want to do.
Don't.
But when I
rent
rented
a room.
They said no overnight guests. When
Absolutely
I rented, they
right.
set their
And she
guidelines,
said I
and
didn't.
I honored them. So if she didn't want to...
Do you take medication? Do you take medication?
No, ma'am.
You should. Because I've already told you 4 times, this is the 4th time, that when I start to speak, you have to stop.
Okay.
You can't. That's something that's not working right. You owe her security deposit, which was how much?
It's $500.
Did either of you seek any medical treatment for your injuries?
No, ma'am.
Yes, I did.
I'm not talking about you. Now, where did you move when you moved?
I was actually homeless for 8 days. I was allowed to stay at my boyfriend is roommate with another roommate, and he was out of town.
That's fine. Don't make up things as we go along. You weren't homeless because you were able to sleep someplace.
Well, yes. I mean, I was without a permanent...
Fine, and then you found someplace.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Whole thing is very, very unfortunate. Really, very unfortunate. You want to say anything to me? No. You want your security deposit back?
Absolutely.
You got it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Why did that excuse you may step out?
I was blatantly assaulted by her. I think it's really sad that, she got away with it.
It was just humiliating, and I had my daughter there, and then something I didn't want her to ever have to go through.
She came home with her daughter. I guess she called her, and then they came in, and they really started beating me up.
That's her opinion on it. I was the whole entire time I was just trying to protect myself and my daughter, and she was the one throwing blows at me.
Miss Neese came out, grabbed the keys, and tried barricading herself in the room, and then actually got my mom on the ground and had her on the ground, almost choking her.
Because she knew prior to moving in what the boundaries were. If she wasn't comfortable, that's fine. I honor that. Just don't move in.
She was telling them that I was the devil, that they worked for the devil, and that there was a conspiracy at the police department, that they were all against her and they're on my side.
I guess just in general, be careful.
Actually, I think I'm going to go back to living by my own now.
We need more love in the world.
Parties have been sworn in.
Thank you.
Have a seat, sir.
Mr. Anderson, you claimed that the defendant damaged your car.
Yes, ma'am.
You wanted to pay for the damage. I don't know what her answer is. She sort of says, I didn't do anything wrong, and I let my father take care of it. Okay, Mr. Anderson, why don't you tell me when this happened and tell me what happened?
Okay. It was March 3rd, 2006. It was a Friday, and rent was due. That's my roommate, Sean. So we both drove to the bank to get our halves of the rent to pay the rent. So I drove my car, I parked and went inside. Sean, he drove his car through the drive-thru and got his money. So I went inside, got my half of the rent. I'm walking to my car, and as I approached my driver's side door, Taryn pulled into the parking spot on my passenger side. She pulled in and parked her car. So I know she seen me standing there.
Don't tell me what you know she saw.
Okay.
Just tell me what happened. You're standing outside your car on the driver's side.
Yes, ma'am.
She pulled in on the passenger side. What kind of car was she driving?
A Jeep Cherokee.
What kind of car do you have?
A 2002 Hyundai Elantra.
So her car is much bigger than yours.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what happened next?
So she pulled in to the parking spot next to mine, and by then I had got in my car, closed my door, and I was counting my half of the rent. So I'm in my car, she opens her car door, and then boom, she hits my passenger side. So when it happened, I was kind of in shock.
Now, when she opened the car door, you must have turned around when you heard this.
Yes.
What did you see when you turned around?
Well, after it hit, she hopped out of her car real fast. She hurried up and closed the door. Then she hurried up and started walking real fast into the bank.
Have pictures of your car?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it, please.
Mind you, I wash my car. I keep up with the maintenance of my car regularly, so I know what scratches are on my car and what scratches aren't on my car. So I waited. Mind you, I just left from it.
These are the scratches you're talking about, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
The two.
Yes.
1, 2.
Yes.
Not any other scratches on the car.
just those two.
Just those two.
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
So mind you, I had just left from inside the bank. It was empty. So I'm sitting there waiting for her to come out. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes passed. So I'm thinking in my head, oh, she's probably trying to wait for me to leave to avoid the situation. So I'm sitting there waiting. She finally comes out. She's walking straight. She's not even looking in my direction. She's walking to her car, and she was about to put her car keys in her car, and I had to stop her. I said, "Excuse me, ma'am." And she was like, "Huh?" And I was like, "You know you hit my car with your car door when you first pulled up." And she was like, "Oh, I did?" So when she said that, I already knew what type of integrity she had. When she tried to deny it, well, she didn't really deny it, but she was like, "Oh, I did?" And I was like, "Yeah, you hit it." She was like, "So what do you want to do?" I was like, "Well, we need to exchange information." So she said, "Hold on." She got in her car and closed the door. So I'm thinking, oh, she might be trying to pull off. So I got behind her car, and I wrote down her tag number. So about a minute passed, and she opened the car door crying. Boo-hoo crying. My dad wants to talk to you. So she put me on the phone with her dad, Mr. Alan Goulet. So I got on the phone with him. So he introduced himself. He was real polite. He introduced himself. He asked me what happened. I told him exactly what happened. Then he said, "Are you sure she did it?" And I said, "Sir, I'm positive because I was sitting inside my car when it happened." He was like, "Okay, well, this is what I want to do." He was like, "I don't want to have to go through my insurance company. I'm a lawyer down in Miami. I'll go ahead and take care of everything for you. Just go ahead and get an estimate and fax it to me, and I'll take care of everything."
Okay, and did you get an estimate, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the estimate that you faxed to?
Estimate that I faxed, $497.76.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Because Mr. Gluick says you faxed him an estimate for $277.
No, the story, because after that, after I faxed him that estimate, I didn't hear from him. Like, months had passed, and I still didn't hear from him. So one day I was on Camp 3. I got her phone number. I called her. I was like, "Hey, my name's Carl. Do you remember me?" She's like, "Yeah, I remember you." I was like, "Did you talk to your dad?"
Just a second. Did you ever fax him an estimate for $277?
No, I had called him and told him I got a cheaper estimate. Because
okay. So you told him you got a cheaper estimate for $277.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to know.
Okay.
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay. And you never got paid?
No.
Good. Go ahead.
I pulled into the bank. It was raining, so I got out of my car, walked into the bank.
Just a second. You got out of the car, and when you get out of the car, do you open this heavy door to the Jeep Cherokee with your hand or with your foot?
With my hand.
No, that's not what you do. You open the door and you give it a little shove with your foot so that it opens easy. That's what you do. That's what you did.
I didn't open it with my foot.
No, you opened it with your hand.
Right.
And then you push it with your foot because it's hard for you because the Jeep Cherokee is a high car. How tall are you?
5'4".
So that you have to hop down.
I stepped down.
Yeah. Right. Been there. And my question to you is, you dinged his car. That's what you did. There's no question in my mind you dinged his car. Okay. You probably dinged a lot of people's cars. My question to you is, why is someone who's 21 years old, who's old enough to be in possession of a big car, a big weapon, if you don't use it right, why does somebody like you call their daddy?
I wasn't sure what information I should give him, if we should call the cops or not. So I wanted
He
some
asked
advice.
you for your insurance information.
He said, can I have your information?
Okay, and what did you think he meant?
My
What
phone
did you
number,
think he meant?
some
Your
way to
height,
get in
your
touch
weight,
with
your
me?
color, your eye color?
Some way to get in touch with me?
Then you shouldn't be driving a car. If you thought he wanted some way to get in touch with you, then you shouldn't be driving a car.
I thought the cops should have been called then if he wanted my insurance information.
So, fine. You went into your car and you called your father.
Yes, ma'am.
Did your father say call the police?
No, that's why I didn't.
Well, what did your father say to you?
He said give him your information.
And what information did he say to give him?
I gave him both of our phone numbers and our name.
That's not the information he needs. He needs your insurance information. Did your father say give him your insurance card?
No, ma'am.
Well, he should have. That's what it means when you exchange information. Right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Now you can stand up.
Carl Anderson says fellow motorist Taryn Gluck owes for dinging his car door in a bank parking lot. Taryn denies causing any damage.
Okay. Why didn't you tell your daughter to call the police? She had been involved in an accident.
Well, number one, in the state of Florida, you're only required to call the police when there's personal injury damage, which there was not, and that was the first thing I ascertained.
Perfect. Having ascertained that, when your daughter said he wants my information, that includes your insurance information. You know that. You're a lawyer.
Yes.
Well, it would seem to me that along with your name and number, he should have had your insurance information, unless you said to him, send me an estimate and I'll take care of it. Is that what you said to him, sir? Look at me. Don't look over there.
I didn't say it in those words, no.
I don't care whether you said it in those words, sir. It's either, here's my insurance information, take it up with my insurance company, or fax me an estimate and I'll take care of it.
I said, send me some paperwork, send me some information, and we'll take care of it. That was
Fine,
exactly
then you
what I
pay for it. Thank you.
said. You're welcome.
Okay, it's clear to me that these two dings are what was caused by the car door hitting your car and being irresponsible enough not even to get out and look at it and say, I hit one door against another. At least let me look at it and see if I caused any damage.
I looked at it.
No, you didn't. When you hit his car, you left as soon as you could. When he called you on it, when you came back, but when you did it, you didn't look at his car. You hightailed it out of there as soon as you could. Wrong thing to do. You got to act responsibly. You look like a nice girl. You're big enough to drive a car. You have to do the right thing when you drive a car. And you're supposed to be careful when you get out and not use your foot. You know, they call that the Florida foot. I live in Florida. I know the Florida foot. The way women get out of a car. Unfortunately, it's mostly the women. They get out, and older men. They get out of the car, they open the car door, and they go, boom! So it opens the door easily so that they can get themselves out of the car. That's what you did. Okay, you owe him $277, and it wasn't the right thing to blow him off and to not keep in contact with him. You neither, sir. Wrong thing to do. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He used the court process as a collection agency and unfairly took advantage of my daughter's situation.
I didn't intimidate her because I was polite the whole time, and she knows that.
He came up to me and he's much bigger than I am.
I just explained to her that she caused damage to my car and we need to exchange information.
If my daughter tells me she didn't do it, then she didn't do it.
She's a daddy's little girl.
Ladies, have a seat. You're welcome.
Mr. Bigda, how old are you, sir?
I'm 28 years old, Your Honor.
Is this your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been married?
We've been married for roughly 3 years, almost 4.
You have children
Yes,
with her?
ma'am. I have 2 by my wife, Your Honor.
Your complaint says, sir, that the defendant is the boyfriend of the mother of another of your children. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you married to your wife at the time that this child was conceived?
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
How old is the child that you have with, what's your name?
Selena.
Selena.
She just turned 2, Your Honor.
And this is your complaint, Mr. Bigda. Your complaint is that the defendant assaulted you.
Yes, sir.
And in addition, you claim that you made a small loan to him to cover some insurance payment that he needed. Mr. Hellinger says that you precipitated this argument. And in addition, he is counterclaiming. He alleges that you called Child Protective Services on him on more than one occasion. And in addition, he says that your child, correct?
Yes.
How much child support do you pay, Mr. Bigda?
I paid $36 weekly, court ordered.
Do you pay it every week?
Yes, I do, ma'am. It's taken directly out of my paycheck, Your Honor.
And how much is your paycheck, sir?
My paycheck, it ranges anywhere from $300 to $600, depending on how many hours I work.
Then why do you only pay $36 a week in child support? Put your hand down.
Because that's what the court had ordered, because I have 2 other children and a wife. My wife does not work, so I have...
Why doesn't your wife work?
Because she stays home and takes care of our 2-year-old.
You have another 2-year-old? You are very busy, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why don't you work and earn $600 a week all the time, Mr. Bigda?
Because the paper mill doesn't always have overtime. Some weeks you might work 12-hour days. Some days you just work 8 hours. It varies if we have people that call in or...
Yes.
I worked at the same paper mill, and overtime's always welcome. I left that job because of him. Right now I'm currently climbing trees. So,
For a living?
Yes, I cut trees down. I work for
you
tree
cut
service.
trees down. You said I climb trees. I
so
said I didn't know that you could make a living doing that.
So when he says that the overtime ain't there, it is always there at that mill. I work there. I also put in tons of hours.
Mr. Bigda, it's outrageous that you only pay $36 a week in child support, sir. I'm telling you that right now. Even if you pay it, she wants to tell me that you don't even pay it. But if you paid it, that's an outrageous figure for you to pay for child support. It's not your child's fault, sir, that you didn't know how to keep your whatever in your pants. That's outrageous. What?
Sorry. I only received $26 out of that 36. 10 of it goes to the Department of Social Services towards arrears.
Yes.
And the rear support is actually medical bills for Mrs. Catterette for having the baby. It's not rear.
No. It's not medical bills for her, sir. It's the birthing expenses for your child. Because when you make a baby, it has to be born.
Yes, that's what
right? Put your hand down. I don't know why you still tolerate him. Me, I'd be visiting him, and bringing flowers. Now, I'm ready to hear, sir, your tale of woe.
On the beginning of January 2007, I had recommended Justin, because he had not had a job for a while, to the paper mill that I worked at, and they had hired him. And on January 18th, I had loaned the defendant $50 to get his car insured so he could get to and from work. 2 days later, I had also loaned him another $20 so he would have gas money. And at that current time, I was out on disability due to my hand. I had to have carpal tunnel surgery on my right and my left hand. And during that time, things were going good. I had come back to work roughly the end of February. And at the end of February...
So you weren't paid for the entire month of February?
I was paying. I had support reduced, and it was I'm all caught up as we speak.
What'd you have it reduced to? How could they reduce it any lower?
Because it was reduced because I was only bringing home $230 a week due to disability. I have proof of what I had loaned him.
Get on to the... So far, I hear $70, sir.
All right.
$70 from your $26 a week that you pay in child support, not $36. 10 goes for arrears. You acknowledge that. So you pay $26 a week, which is less than $100 a month. You want me to translate that by day, sir? Let me translate that. $26 a week divided by 7 equals $3.71 a day. That's what you pay. Let's move on.
Also, when I had returned back to work on February 26th, Justin Hellinger had assaulted me several times.
Well, I want you to tell me what happened. What's the basis of your claim, sir? Let's hear it.
Pretty much what happened is I try to see my daughter whenever I can, and he does not want me to see my daughter, and he tries to control when I can and when I can't. And he told me if I call to have any contact, he'd kill me and bury me. On the night of January 13th, Mr. Hellinger had come down to my part of the plant where he should not have been and started having verbal words with me, beat me up, and I didn't want to have any time of problem. So I went to turn around, and when I turned around, he had closed his fist and hit me on the left side of my head, 2 centimeters from my temple, and I was taken to the hospital by the employers. I have hospital statements showing.
I'd like to see those, please.
Judge Judy fiancé of his child's mother, Justin Hellinger, punched him out at work. Justin is countersuing for child support costs and for false charges made to CPS.
Okay. Now, Mr. Hellinger, I'd like you to tell me your version of what happened on the 13th, please.
The bathroom is downstairs in the mill, so I was going down to the bathroom. There's 2 flights of stairs. I went down one flight, he went down the other. We intercepted each other in the middle. It's about a 10, 15-foot hallway. I confronted him about what he was doing to me, why he was calling my house at midnight.
Just a second. When you say you confronted him, what did you say to him?
I said, Cashmere, why do you keep calling my house at midnight harassing me and my family?
When did he call your house at midnight? Put your hand down!
It was probably the beginning of January when all this...
How many times did he call your house at midnight?
Oh, several.
Who did he speak to?
Her or me when I was there.
What did he say to you when he called at midnight?
Asked how I was doing and if Justin was being good, if I was doing all right and everything was all right between us. Pretty much wanted to know about my relationship with Justin.
Did you ever tell him not to call your house at midnight?
Justin has several times.
Why did you call their house at midnight?
I personally didn't. My wife did. My wife and Selena were good friends, and Selena had asked my wife to call so they could just talk about our child and other things. They were friends, and Mr. Hellinger does not like her being friends with my wife. So she would ask my wife to call late at night when Justin went to work.
I'm asking you, sir.
I have personally never called his house after 10 o'clock. My wife had always done the calling for me because he would not allow me to call.
For you?
He would not allow me to call.
When your wife called, did you ever get on the phone?
There's been a few times that...
When your wife, just the answer is either yes or no. When your wife placed the ever get on the phone?
Yes.
That's what he's complaining about. Do you get it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so you confronted him about the calls that were coming to your house being made by his wife, but then the phone being turned over to the plaintiff.
Yes.
And what happened next?
He got a little irate, got loud with me.
No. Tell me what he said.
He can do anything he wants. It's his kid. And if he wants to be with Selena, he can be with her anytime he wants because he can just take her out the bar and do what he wants to her. And
put your hand down.
It made me grumpy.
Made you grumpy?
Yes, very grumpy.
Well, probably mildly.
He slandered
me.
He slandered me through the whole mill, told the mill all my business, told the mill, a lot of the people I worked with, that I was beating her and the kid. I confronted him about that, too. He started to come at me, and at that time, I just pushed through with him. And I don't know if I hit him in the head or not, but I did.
Well, you did hit him in the head, sir.
I had an open hand. I never closed my hand when I hit him because he's handicapped. I would not hit a handicapped person.
Okay. Now I'll hear you.
Yes, Your Honor. I had made a report to the police. He was arrested. I have the arrest.
I'd like
and
to
there
see
was,
it. Now you can stand up.
And I have told people about Justin at the mill, and the reason why I did that is because I fear for my daughter's welfare. That's why I keep persisting. He's a registered 2 sex offender, and it is on the website for everybody to see. I fear for my little girl's life, and so
Yes.
I've been with this little girl for 2 years. My officer said it's fine. I have 2 children of my own. I also get every other weekend. Being around his daughter is no problem to me. I'm not dangerous to anybody. What I've done in my past was my business. In fact, yes, it is. I am registered, but it don't affect my life at all. I have a good job. I work around several 100,000 people a day. I go to people's homes.
Did your prior conviction involve children?
No, it did not. It involved an underage girl, which I did not know her name, or her age, I should say.
How old are you now?
I am 24.
Put your hand down!
I am 24.
24. And when was this conviction?
2 years ago?
2 years ago when you were 22.
Yes.
And how old was the girl?
16.
Got it. Fine. Not fine legally, but that's a totally different scenario than pedophilia. That's just dumb.
Understood.
And you have too many children, sir, at age 24. If you
I
have
understand.
3 children.
Yes.
You too. I don't care how many trees you climb, and I don't care how much pulp you make. Now, you want to say something to me?
The phone calls that were made to Selena were me returning calls and her returning my calls. He did not take the phone every time, only once in a great while.
Listen, he took the phone more than once. Madam, I don't even have to be there to know that he took the phone
yes,
more
he
than
did.
once. Right. Anything else you want to say?
Just that the support issue, we give them money on the side to above what the court orders. We also buy Davina's clothes, Davina's diapers, her wipes, her shoes. And when we do send them home...
Show me receipts.
Right here, where I
Show
spend
me.
at Walmart off of my bank card.
Show me.
There's a few. There's Walmart there where we've spent $502 to buy clothes, diapers, wipes, food.
What about for whose children?
For his daughter.
Not for your children?
No, not at that point. No, I buy her
Baloney.
things separately.
Baloney. I don't believe a word of what you just said to me. Sit down. You think that I believe that you went and spent $500 on his daughter and none of that?
Some of it was on his daughter. Not all.
Now that's better.
I'm sorry,
Some
it was
of
my
it was
mistake.
you made a mistake.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry.
What?
Also, I fear for my child because last summer, roughly June or July, the defendant was also arrested because he had left him and he rolled his car trying to kill himself on purpose. And he had a suicide message left on my machine. I didn't bring that with me today.
Yes.
The fact that I tried to kill myself has nothing to do with
Yes,
his
it does.
child. I was not with him.
Yes, it
I
does.
got
Listen
help.
to me. Listen to me. That's a legitimate concern.
I understand it is.
Okay? That's a legitimate concern. If you have suicidal thoughts, that's one thing. If you act out those suicidal thoughts and you are around the child, that's a legitimate concern that a parent might have. You get it?
Yep.
Now, I assume that that formed the basis of at least one of the calls to Child Protective Services.
No, it did not.
Did it?
Yes, it did.
How many times did you call Child Protective Services?
3 times.
Tell me about the 3 times.
The one time was when he rolled his car, and Selena, the mother of my child, was worried, so we got together and had called. The second time was when he called my house going irate, and he threatened to kill me and bury me and told me I could not see my child, so I was very concerned about the welfare of my daughter. And the third time was due to him stalking and calling me names and stuff. He had even stooped low. He had convinced his girlfriend to go to the police and report that I had raped her. That's how our daughter was conceived. And the police had come to my house, and she was filed for making a false report and is under community service for trying to have me arrested.
Yes. Is that correct?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
Okay. That's not good. That's not good.
I was highly intoxicated the night that me and Kashmir, conceived my daughter.
So?
I don't remember any of it, and it was not a coerced thing. I went to the police department on my own.
How much after your daughter was born?
6 months, maybe.
So you had 9 months and 6 months? You had 15 months to think about it?
I was not.
Okay. Mr. Hellinger, he was clearly assaulted, and you clearly lost your temper. So you have to be responsible for his medical bills.
Your Honor.
What?
I have a unfounded paper from Social Services January 30th that he called on me where I was unfounded.
Yeah, that's okay. He has legitimate concerns about you. Are you getting any help for yourself?
Yes, I am.
Good. You seeing somebody regularly?
Yes, I do.
Put your hand down. Listen, if you think that I find you a sympathetic character, I do not. You were disloyal to your wife. You created a situation that she's going to have to live with and suffer with her whole life if she decides to stay with you. She has 2 children with you. I guarantee you the day that you told her that you had another child the same age as your youngest child was not the happiest day of her life. So if you think that I believe that you're a sympathetic character, I believe that you are an unsympathetic character, sir. As far as the money that you claim you gave him, that hardly makes up for the amount of money he contributes to support your child. So he's going to pay your medical bills, which are roughly $500. Unfortunately, Mr. Hellinger, you want to be compensated for supporting his child. That's your prerogative. If you choose to do that, you do that gratuitously.
That ain't a big problem to me, the harassment.
Fine. And as far as calling Child Protective Services, some of your behavior, sir, is questionable. And I suggest to you, I would continue with the help that you're getting because you probably need it. What?
I also have proof that I lost wages.
I don't care if you lost wages.
When he
Make up for it for the $26 a week that you send to support your child, or $3.71 a day. I'm telling you, sir, you are an unsympathetic person. That you would like to have control over this situation that you created. Were you drunk the night that she got pregnant?
No, I was not.
Was she?
Yes.
You know how unsympathetic you are? The scale of sympathy from me just went to a -10. So she was drunk. You weren't. You clearly then took advantage of somebody. That a fair statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
So he's going to cover your medical bills. Period. It's your $500. What a situation you created, sir. You. created this whole situation? I don't know, because she was drunk. How old are you?
23.
And you?
28.
Goodbye, sir. You get your medical bills. Try to live with each other in peace.
Parties are excused. Step back.
Well, it's great that he had to pay the hospital bills. Too bad he didn't have to pay for the pain and suffering.
He won. I hope you just don't take that $500 and do the same thing you done to her to another woman out here.
I didn't rape her. I had mutual consent.
I was obviously intoxicated when she was conceived.
She says she don't remember, but the next day when I told my friend, she come running out of the trailer. I knew he'd tell everybody.
The night in question, Cashmere was only one of 5.
His wife was also right next to us doing the same thing.
1 girl, 4 guys, including Cashmere.
She was having intercourse with another man.
She makes it sound like she was drunk laying there. She wasn't. She went to the bar to get me drunk to try to sleep with me to begin with. And I said no.
We were traveling with the fare. We had went to the bar. We got intoxicated and things happened.
I just hope that he can be a bigger man and just stay out of the picture and let me father my child.
He does every day. He'll call my house. He'll say things that are inappropriate. He's not very smart himself.
We'll never hear the end of it. All we've wanted was to see the little girl without any problems.
She calls me daddy, and that's the way life is going to go on.
Really, personally, I don't think anything is going to change.
I'm going to tell him not to call my house. I am going to call the police. I'm going to have a restraining order put on him so he cannot call my house.
He's not your boyfriend anymore. You claim that you loaned him some money and that he, at some point, sort of assaulted you, although it was an argument that went very badly. Mr. Mangum says that the money that you did, in fact, give him was a gift. There was never any discussion of repayment, and that this assault that you're talking about was as a result of your own actions, that you were a hot-tempered nut and he did nothing but try to escape you. Tell me about this money. When did you give it to him and where did it come from?
February 16th. It came from my accounts.
Can I see from where?
Yes. It's right here.
Where did you take this money from?
It was from my savings accounts.
And you took it out in cash?
Cash.
And what did you do with it?
I let the defendant borrow $1,100 from it, and I spent $900 of it.
Now, you gave him $1,100. And what did you do with it, sir?
I was supposed to buy a car, but it didn't go that way. You know, she spent all her money, so...
You were supposed to buy a car.
Right.
Did you
but
put
she
the money...
blew all her...
I'm speaking. When she gave you the $1,100, where did you put it?
I just had it in my pocket. It was in my possession. I didn't put it in the bank anywhere because it's supposed to be for me to buy a car. But she blew all her money, so I had to use the money to take care of her now.
He was going to say that no matter what happened.
Right. I mean, I'm trying to tell you what happened.
I ask questions. When I want you to do a monologue, I'll ask you.
It's not a monologue. I was answering a question.
No, I just asked you where you put the money. You said in my pocket.
In my possession. Sorry.
Right. You see, we're going to do this in an orderly fashion, like I say.
It's supposed to be used to buy a car.
I have a feeling they look, see, that's attitude. Look at the attitude, right? Attitude, attitude. That looks like a match made in heaven. So she gave you this $1,100. You're supposed to use it to buy a car.
Right.
But you didn't buy a car. You bought a watch instead.
No, I didn't buy a watch. Ben had the watch. Ben had the watch.
What did he say?
Ben had the watch.
So what'd you do with the money?
Help take care of her, because she blew all her money.
Money on?
Ask her.
What'd you blow your money on, the $900? What'd you buy?
I actually blow my money.
What did you buy with it?
I have to eat, I have to pay my bills, I have my own apartment.
Yeah.
And I have to put gas and things in my car, so I didn't actually blow my money.
Well, so you spend your money on your own bills.
On myself.
On yourself?
Doing things that I had to do.
Tell her the truth.
Shh. Just a second. Why should she tell me the truth? That would make
it
so unusual here.
She's not telling the truth.
Okay, so
she
blew her money, and you had to use the $1,100 on her. What did you use it on? Give me an example.
Food, going out, rent, cell phone bills, all of that nature. But I was supposed to be buying me a car. That was
Were you living together?
Yo, huh? Excuse me? You're not speaking loud enough for me to hear you.
No, the problem is your mouth isn't closed. So when your mouth is not closed, you can't hear me. You can't hear me. I said, were you living? No, you were.
No, we weren't living together, but we was together every day. I'm asking your question. I'm just.
It's all in the timing, see.
See, we ain't connecting here. Maybe we need to slow down a little bit.
We are not connecting, sir. And for that I say, thank God.
Wow.
So you didn't buy the car with the $1,100?
No, ma'am.
You took her out to eat, took her to parties and things?
Parties, eat, shows, karaoke, everything.
I just want to know where was I at.
Just 1 second.
I'm sorry.
Just 1 second. That doesn't mean he doesn't have to pay you back. Listen to me. That doesn't mean he doesn't have to pay you back. If he decided to use this money to show you a good time, to play big man, that's his problem.
Hey.
That's his problem. You know, he chose to do that. He could have let you stay home and watch Law and Order or watch Judge Judy. He could have let you do that. You could have had just as good a time. All right. Okay. So now, Miss Young, now I want you to tell me, madam, about this assault, when it happened, and let's try to keep it legitimate, okay? Because I have a feeling that I'm going to get half a truth from each of you.
Okay, it happened probably like a month and a half ago. I was over his house.
Month and a half? What month?
What was it? June?
You're asking me? I wasn't there.
Okay, June, May, June.
May and June.
Yes.
Must have been a terrible assault if you remember May and June. Go ahead, let me hear what happened. You were over on his porch.
Okay, I was over on his porch.
You were sitting on his porch.
And he got angry because I wouldn't leave. He wanted to drive my car and go to handle some business. And he wanted me to go inside the house. And I said, no, I don't want to go in the house. He came back, drove around the block, told me, leave my house, Lynette. And I said, I'm not leaving. Why do you want me to leave? He took me by my shirt, grabbed me, drugged me off his porch with my shirt. Tried to throw me in my car. We got into a physical altercation. He scratched me up. I scratched him up. We was fighting, like just fighting. Not like punching each other, but like scratching.
Each other?
Yes. I was trying to defend myself.
Because you were trespassing on his property.
I wasn't really trespassing.
Yes, you were.
I was invited over his house.
No. Lynette, darling, when he said to you, I want you to leave my house, the invitation is over. You have to leave.
Okay, that's true.
That means you're trespassing.
But when I did say that I was about to go, you don't have to put your hands on me. I will leave on my own will. He took me by my shirt and drugged me off the porch. So that means that he didn't give me an opportunity. When he said move, I didn't move when he wanted me to move. So
That's his problem. He has a problem like that.
I didn't move
he
quick
likes to
enough
be in
for him.
charge.
I didn't move quick enough for him, so he took me by my shirt.
Did you call the police?
Yes, I did.
And he was arrested?
He was arrested.
Just a second. He was arrested. Did you follow through with the case?
Okay.
Look at me. Did you follow through with the case?
I did not.
So what do you want from me? You don't even remember the day it happened. You don't even remember the month it happened. But I'd like to hear your version of the events anyway.
Lynette Young claims ex-boyfriend Robert Mangum owes for a loan and for an assault. Robert admits he put his hands on Lynette, but claims she refused to leave his property.
Go ahead.
Okay, let me give you a mental picture of this. Now, she's sitting over my house. We had a good day, for probably about an hour.
You did have a good day?
We did have a good day for about an hour. Usually, that's about the extent of how long our good days last, But I need to use her car. She got an attitude with me about using her car, but she finally let me use it. I'm like, just go in the house. It was a bunch of stuff going on in the neighborhood.
What were you going to use her car for?
I had to go make a run. I had to go pick something up.
Make a run?
Because I was supposed to be going out. I was supposed to be going out later, so I had to go pick up some clothes. But that's either here nor there. It was a bunch of stuff that's going on in the neighborhood, so I told her, go in the house. I didn't yell at her. I didn't argue with her. Just go in the house. She put on the front in front of y'all. She wanted to play Miss Model, Miss a front, an acting job, Sanaa Lathan. I'm just trying to run it down to you, but in front of y'all, she want to act all nice. But when it comes to me, she's like a terrorist.
No,
She's a terrorist.
Why, just a second. That's what you like about her.
No, I'm actually trying to help her with her problem. I say it's a problem.
Anger.
Right. It's not even anger. It's a mixture of things. She's sensitive, she's emotional, and she's a bit aggressive. So with that chemical reaction, it causes a terrorist attack. But let me get on with the story.
Get on with it in 30 seconds, sir.
30 seconds? Okay. I told her to go in the house. I didn't tell her I asked her to go in the house. She argued with me. Well, I got to go in the house. Oh, I ain't going nowhere. I'm like, all right, I ain't going to argue with you. Just leave. She said, I ain't going nowhere. Please, can you leave? I ain't going nowhere. So I grabbed her by her waist and walked her down the stairs.
Oh, wow.
So I put her in the car, got on the other side of the car, pulled off. We in the car arguing, fighting, arguing. I'm like, you know what? I finally got like a mile away from the house, got to the light, and parked the car at the light and got out the car and started walking home. She come back to my house. Come back, talking about she gonna call the police on me. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Just leave. She called the police over there. I go over there, talk to the police.
Meanwhile, you had an outstanding warrant that kept you in for a while.
So that's why they took me.
What was the warrant for, Mr. Mangum?
It was open alcohol.
Open alcohol?
Yeah, in the car. I wasn't driving. The alcohol was just open.
Oh, well, why didn't you go to court when you got that ticket? Huh?
I missed the court date.
You have other big things to do? What kind of work do you do, Mr. Mangum?
I used to work at Sherman-Williams, but I'm just a student now.
I used to be taller, but now I'm shorter. What do you do now? What do you do now?
I'm just a student.
A student of what?
College.
Where?
Wayne State. Criminal justice is my major. I plan to be like you one day.
Mr. Mangum, the system isn't ready for you, sir.
I know, but in a few years, they'll be ready. They tuning up for me.
All right, Mr. Mangum, you owe her $1,100. You wined her and dined her. You're a guy who's supposed to pay those things. You're not supposed to take her out with her own money. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100, you get zero, nothing, zippo for the assault. You probably brought on yourself. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy, she come off a little aggressive and, you know, a little mean, but I know she's just a cutie pie.
I'm kind of happy with the decision. I got my money back.
She did give me the money, but there was a whole bunch of stipulations to it.
I'm not controlling.
Totally.
I don't let people run over me.
Where you going?
I have to voice my opinion when someone is trying to do me wrong.
What you doing?
That's my business.
Why you doing?
That's my money.
Awful.
We're probably not going to get back together.
Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Miss Terrace, this is your former daughter-in-law. She was married to your son for a very short time, and it is your claim that she owes you some money. She owes you money for airline tickets that you claim you bought with money that was a loan to her to bring her family to see you over a Christmas holiday. You claim she owes you for some wedding expenses that you paid for, and you expected her to pay you back. And you claim that she owes you for one final thing, and that is for some family heirlooms that you gave to her in anticipation of her being your daughter-in-law for a very long time.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson says that these were all gifts. She never intended to pay you back. There was never any discussion of paying you back for the items that you purchased for her. And you're just angry that she divorced your son and married somebody else. You did remarry.
Yes.
When were you married to, I assume, this gentleman? This is your son?
This is my son. I was legally married to Ethan on January 10th of 07.
And when did you separate from him?
January 25th, I believe, is when he moved out.
Why?
Because he did not want to get a job. He didn't want to pay rent. He didn't want to help with any of the household expenses.
You mean you found this out in 15 days?
Well,
Miss Johnson, you got married in January 10th. January 25th, 15 days later, it was over.
Yes.
Strange. Okay, tell me about the airline tickets, which is what you're complaining about first, Ms. Terrace.
The airline tickets to bring Shelley and her daughters for Christmas. I flew them down.
From where?
I flew them from Denver to Las Vegas so they could come and spend Christmas with me.
You have daughters?
Yes.
How many?
2.
So you wanted her to come down and spend Christmas with you?
Yes.
With your son?
Yes.
Okay. So, go ahead.
Shelley had no money for airline tickets, and I was asked if I would purchase them, and I would be paid back.
Who told you that you were going to be paid back?
Shelley.
No, she didn't. That sounds ridiculous, Miss Terrace. You never told you were going to pay her back for the airline tickets?
No, that was an agreement with her son.
Of course not. You wanted your son to come to your house for Christmas. So you said, I'll send you airline tickets. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out, Miss Terrace. Right? Of course. I have children. If I want my children to come and spend Thanksgiving or Christmas with me, you know, and they don't have money, I say, I'll send you the tickets. So, move on. I don't believe you that she said she was going to pay you back. What's next?
Okay. Starting with August 14th, my son discovered that Shelley had remarried on February 14th, Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Their marriage was not annulled until May.
Okay.
They were still living as man and wife.
Okay. Would you tell me what it is that you claim she owes you money for? I'm not the moral police.
Okay. At that time, I told them that I would help out paying for a formal wedding and a reception to be held on May 26th. At that time, after discovering that Shelley had committed bigamy by marrying a man on Valentine's Day, February 14th.
Just a second. You said they were married January 10th, 2007.
Correct.
And then they were supposed to have a reception in May.
Correct.
But they were no longer living together in May of 07.
That's correct.
And
I paid for all wedding expenses.
And?
And I was told that I would be repaid for this. However, after...
Who told you that?
Shelley. It was an agreement that I would be paid back. And after discovering that Shelley married a man while she was still married to my son, I feel she is not entitled to anything.
Just a second. I know what you feel. When did you plan this wedding and make the payments that you're complaining about? In what month?
December.
In December. So you made certain outlays of money.
Correct.
Had your son ever been married before?
No.
Had you been married before?
Yes, ma'am.
So you wanted to make a wedding. Where was the wedding supposed to be?
In my hometown.
In your hometown, for your family and friends.
That's
because your son was never married before.
That's correct.
So you said, I'll make the wedding. Miss Tarras, we know where it's going, my dear. That's what you do. You didn't expect her to pay for the wedding. She's got 2 children that she's, I assume, supporting, that they live with her. She wasn't going to make the wedding. You wanted to make the wedding in Las Vegas, where you live, where your son grew up, where you have family and friends, and you said, I'll pay for the wedding. You put down a deposit on a hall, you put down deposit on invitations, and whatever you did. The formal marriage didn't work out, and nothing came of the May event because they were already separated for 5 months by the time May rolled around. So, doesn't work out, doesn't work out. Would have been no difference if they got married January 10th and you paid for the wedding in January, and that was the formal wedding, and they separated 15 days later. You don't get your money back from her. What do you want?
I'd like to add something, Your Honor.
Go.
Amen. I moved out of the apartment on February 20th of 2007. Shelley's second ex-husband, she found out unfortunately had died, had passed away on December 1st. Shelley was having a very hard time grieving with this. And I can remember multiple times her waking up in the middle of the night telling me how much Chris was a better man than me.
Listen, does this have some relevance to your mother's lawsuit, or you just want to have a cathartic event? What does that have to do? Mr. Tarras, listen to me very carefully.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand you were hurt. However, you were a very lucky man, very lucky, because you were about to take on a responsibility of a woman who's a little nutty. There's no question she's a nut. Because she had 2 girls, and she gave up what appears to be a perfectly reasonable guy with a perfectly reasonable family, and married somebody, according to you, who's in prison.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's nutty. So, finding that out now, before you do something stupid like make a baby with her so that you're tied to her forever, you should go like this and say, thank you very much. If it only cost me a few $1,000s to get rid of this nut, it's a bargain. It's the bargain of the century. Do you understand, Mr. Tarras?
Yes, ma'am.
Your mother should understand that, too.
Judge Law, Miss Shelley Johnson, owes for airline tickets, wedding expenses, and the return of a family heirloom. Sandra claims Miss Shelley is a bigamist.
Now, I understand you were hurt. You'll find somebody else, uncomplicated, and do yourself a favor. How old are you?
25, ma'am.
25. Pick somebody without baggage.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Now sit.
I am, ma'am.
What's next?
Your Honor, due to her committing bigamy...
It's over. She never promised to pay you for the wedding. Move on.
Well, she did on.
No, she did not. Fib. I don't like fibbers. I have 5 children. I've made more than 5 weddings because we had a couple of doubles in there. I know what it's like. None of my children ever paid me back for weddings. Do you understand? Even when the marriage didn't work out. Get over it, Miss Tarras. Now move on.
Okay. Well, just the bigamy charges. She marries another man while they're still married. That concerns me.
It may concern you, madam. I am not a criminal court judge. You want to notify the district attorney that she committed bigamy? Go with good luck and go with my blessing. Get on to what I'm here about. The last part of your lawsuit, which is items that you claim you gave her, family heirlooms that you want back.
Yes, my mother makes hand-sewn quilts for all the new granddaughters that are marrying her grandsons. My family is requesting that returned due to Shelley obviously not having any interest in them since she married a man a month after marrying my son.
Well, you're not
still
entitled
married.
to that, Miss Tarras, unless Miss Johnson wants to give it back to you. Do you have that quilt?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Would you like to give it back to Miss Tarras? She would like it back.
I can send it back to her grandmother.
Fine. Perfect. What else?
The diamond necklace that I would like returned.
No, you don't get that back.
Okay. I bought that as a daughter-in-law, but...
Good. She was your daughter-in-law for about 15 days. Keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep going.
The expenses for the wedding.
I already told you. She owes you absolutely nothing. She's being gracious in returning a quilt that you say was made by a family member that you want back in the family. And that's only her being gracious to return that to you. So you're not entitled to anything else, Miss Tarras. I'll prepare an order with regard to the quilt. Thank you very much. That's all.
Oh, just excuse you, Miss Step out.
This is the woman that I trusted and I loved with all my heart, and I can't believe she did this to me and my family.
I'd rather be alone and, be married to the right person than to be married to the wrong person. It's a felony.
All parties in the matter of Malloy versus Muse. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Timothy Malloy and his mother, Paula, are suing Timothy's former friend, 23-year-old David Muse, for money loaned to have his teeth fixed.
Mrs. Malloy, this is your son.
Yes.
And the defendant used to be his friend.
Still is.
Good. This is your complaint. Your son and the defendant were at some sort of musical event. They were bandmates and friends. And this was some time ago. And at the event, your son accidentally, I assume accidentally, since they're still friends, punched the defendant or hit the defendant in the mouth, causing him to have 2 teeth that came loose, both of which required substantial dental work.
Yes.
At the time, your son was 17 years old.
Yes.
You claim that you loaned the defendant money for the dental work because he didn't have insurance and he did not pay you back.
No.
That's what your lawsuit is about. Mr. Muse, as a defense, says that your son was responsible to pay for his dental work since he was the one who knocked out his teeth. Since he was a minor, that responsibility fell on you. He has a counterclaim for the dental work, but the lawsuit itself resolves that issue, Mr. Muse. You understand? And as far as lost wages are concerned, I don't think that that was your claim. I don't know why you filed for that.
It was originally part of the counterclaim.
I understand it was part of the counterclaim, sir, but since Mr. Malloy is still a friend of yours, and I understand from his mother that there was a time when you lived in their home after this incident, I don't think that your lost wages became an issue until she sued you for the dental work. That be a fair statement?
The money that I did pay her while I was there could be considered as a sort of a rent for being there.
What does one thing have to do with another? Didn't you understand what I said to you?
Yes.
I said to you that countersuing for your lost wages doesn't seem to me to be something that you would be suing for unless Miss Malloy was suing you for the dental work.
And I also have other dental work. I had the root. She paid for the root canals. I also accrued over $1,000 in other dental work that's not paid for.
That I will consider. Okay. So let's get to your lawsuit. First of all, how did you knock out his teeth?
I was moshing at a show.
What's moshing?
It's a form of dancing at like heavier music, like metal or hardcore, where a bunch of people run around, swing their arms and legs, and accidentally hit him in the mouth.
So what you're saying to me is people moving around like idiots to heavy metal music, flailing their arms, etc., right? Mm-hmm. And it was when you were doing that that you knocked out his teeth?
Yes.
Does that be a fair statement?
Yes.
So whose fault is that, sir?
I guess I would say it was mine.
I guess you would be right.
But he should take some responsibility for being in that situation.
Absolutely not.
He should be aware of what's going on around him.
Absolutely not, Miss Malloy. That's like saying that when you're driving on a highway and you're doing 65 miles an hour, and if there is an accident because a car veers off and hits you, you should be aware of the fact that if cars are going 65 miles an hour, you could get hit. Therefore, it's partially your fault. That's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous assertion. Do you understand?
I understand. I've been to these shows. I stand off to the side because I know what's going on.
Well, you're a different person. But would you agree with me that if you and 10 other people are on a highway traveling 65 miles an hour, you know that if there's an accident, you could get hurt?
Yes.
And that some people don't drive as safely as others?
Yes.
And if you're in a car accident, would you think that the other person who did something wrong, who caused the accident, would have a defense if they say, well, if you didn't want to be on the highway where you were going 65 miles an hour, you should stay home? Is that a ridiculous defense?
Yes.
So is yours. Your son caused the accident and caused him to have 2 teeth that broke. It's his responsibility. And since he's 17 years old, it becomes your responsibility because he's a minor. Especially since if you tell me that you've been to these events and you know that's what happens, and if this is your minor son, you should have kept him home.
But now he never blamed Timothy. He came to me and it was a loan.
I am telling you that it's Timothy's responsibility and it falls on you. And if he wasn't smart enough then to say, listen, he caused the accident, he should be paying for the dental work. He's smart enough now. It's your responsibility. How old are you?
23 now.
And you were 22 at the time?
Yes.
You're 18 now?
19.
19?
Today.
19 today?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
I'm a musician.
Do you make a living at it?
At the moment, yes.
You do?
Yeah.
You should start paying your mother back for the money. Why don't you?
I don't have the money.
Why not?
Because I don't have that much. I don't make that much.
How much do you make?
Not a lot.
How much? It's not set yet.
Yeah, it just started.
Oh, good. Well, you're 19, so you should start paying your mother back for the money. And he's got more dental work. What do you expect him to do with those bills? It's your fault.
Pay for them?
Right. That would be right.
Your Honor, he has made payments to me for the money, which
he was absolutely wrong to make payments to you.
Well, when we started out, it was a loan.
He was absolutely wrong to make payments to you. And the fact that you conned him into thinking that he was responsible for his own dental bills is a problem.
I didn't con him, Your Honor. He took responsibility for it.
He was not responsible. Your son was responsible. And if he would have been 18 years old, been responsible, he would have paid. The question is, he wasn't 18 years old. He was 17 years old, and therefore, his mother, who knows what kind of actions go on there, because she said, I go there myself, and I stand off to the side because I know it can be dangerous. You allowed him to go there.
Yes, but even worse. Moshing at the time also.
Even worse. He didn't hurt anybody. If he had hurt somebody, he would have been responsible. If he had knocked out your son's teeth, he would have been responsible.
Yes, Your Honor, but his good luck was having someone he knew knock out his teeth and not some stranger at the show. Then he would have had no recourse.
He was very, very lucky. He was very, very lucky. Your claim is dismissed, Miss Malloy. He owes you absolutely nothing. You and your son, on the other hand, owe him on his counterclaim $1,123. Thank you very much. That's all.
All you judge excused. You may step out.
Loud music, sweaty guys, and fists flying into my mouth.
It was all just an accident. It's not, nobody was running after each other, trying to hurt each other. It's just an accident.
Kind of blacked out and lots of pain and blood everywhere after that.
Missing this tooth, and there was blood everywhere, and we went outside and tried to fix everything up.
1 in a million punch.
No, we just went to the hospital.
It was very rare that a punch like that would knock 2 of my teeth out.
A mosh pit lesson, I think you should stay out of mosh pits if you ask me.
Who is Miss Bedford?
I am.
Whose home is it?
Mine.
You're Miss Gaffing?
Yes.
According to your complaint, you do an elaborate Halloween lawn house decoration. These are your neighbors.
Yes.
And for some reason, which you will explain to me, which I seem to get the gist of here, there is now bad blood between the two neighbors. And it is your claim that somebody on their team, probably this young lady right here, you're Veronica?
Yes.
Vandalized your Halloween decorations. And you want them to be responsible for that and for the harassment that they've caused you.
Yes.
Whose car was it?
It was my car, Your Honor.
You're Giovanna.
I'm Giovanna.
So let me try to explain to Bird, because if Bird can get it, we all can get it. Giovanna had a car. What kind of car did you have, Giovanna?
A 1994 Buick Roadmaster station wagon.
And you lived with Miss Gaffing. You related?
That's my mother.
Great. Then you got tired of living with your mother, and you left, leaving your old car at her house.
Yes. Yeah.
And you left it there for about 8 months.
No, I actually left the car there because it was not running.
Just a second. I said you left it there for about 8 months.
Yeah, I was gone for about 8 months.
That's what I read. While you were gone, your mother got disgusted with looking at this car that was in her house, and she sold the car to whom?
Me.
And you are?
Charles, last name Bowie.
She sold the car for $500, and it wasn't running. Is that right, Mr. Bowie?
Yes, ma'am.
He took the car, saved up some money, and then invested, according to him, about $1,300 in the car to get it running. So far correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you come home. You found out that the car had been sold by your mother to Mr. Bowie.
I found out from actually Miss Grayson that the car was sold.
And you wanted it back?
Yeah, I told them however much it was paid for, whatever the amount was, that I would be happy to give it back to them. They refused, being so that I owed payments on the car. I did the next best thing.
Well, let me ask you this question. You owed payments on the car to the dealership?
Yes.
Were you paying them every month during the time that the car was sitting at your mother's house?
Yeah.
Look at me. I'm sure you have proof of that.
I don't have proof, but only thing my dealer did was he did give me a copy of the pink slip to show you, and he wouldn't have given that to me if I wasn't credible for it. He did give me a copy of it. Only last payments I had was 2 last payments in the amount of $400.
Did you pay off the car?
No.
When were you supposed to pay off the car?
Actually, I don't remember the last ending date, which was this happened in what, 06, about the beginning, middle of 07.
You following this story?
Yeah.
You getting the story now?
I got it.
That's a lot of what ifs. I don't know.
Because I don't have the dates, Your Honor. I don't.
You didn't finish paying off the car?
No, I did not.
Who has the car now?
I do.
And the dealer gave you the pink slip for the car?
Yes, he did. a copy of the pink slip, and I have that if you want to see that.
You must have a very nice relationship
Yes,
with
I
the
do.
dealer.
Yes,
must
I
be
do.
a very nice relationship. Now, Ms. Gaffing?
Yes, ma'am.
What made you think that you could sell this car to Mr. Bowie?
Actually, I thought the car was paid for.
So you were mistaken?
Yes, I was.
When you sold the car to Mr. Bowie, did you lead him to believe that you had the right to sell the car?
Yes, I did.
Well, it wasn't your car to sell, right?
Yes, my name is on the car also. That's why I felt I could sell the car.
Oh, really? Let me see.
And I was under the assumption that my daughter had paid the car off in full.
Well, in effect, she has, because they gave her the pink slip for the car, so whatever arrangement she worked out with the car dealership, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And you absolutely have the right to sell it.
Yes.
Car has to go back to him.
No, the car is not paid for, Your Honor.
Just a second.
No. Shh. The car is not paid for. I just got that pink after the fact that I had before I even took the car back from them.
You're a scam artist. You're a scam artist because your mother did have the right to sell this car.
No, she didn't.
I'm speaking. Well, yes, she did.
It wasn't paid for.
Listen to me. I am speaking. Do you understand? When I speak, you don't. According to the title to this car, it was Giovanna Bedford or Yvonne Gaffing. Not and, or. That means that either one of you had the right to sell the car, and according to you, you were supposed to pay off the car in dollars. You never did. The owner of this Baseline Auto Center, for whatever reason, which I'm particularly not interested in, decided that he forgave the rest of the debt.
No.
No, that's not even the original pink. The original pink has my signature. He did that. Yeah, he still has the original pink there. He did that just for the efforts when the police came. He told me, since they had my car...
Don't tell me what he told you. That's hearsay. Your mother ostensibly... I'm speaking. Your mother ostensibly had the right to sell this car to them. Therefore, you are responsible to him for $1,300 if he can establish that he put in...
Okay.
I'm speaking money into the car totaling $1,300. Because if he did, based upon your representation and the title... and what she says to me about, well, they're not coming after me for the payments on this car anymore.
Yeah, they are, Your Honor. I'm still...
Show me. Show me.
I'm still making payments on the car.
Just a second.
Still making
I
payments.
asked you, when was the last time you made a payment? You know what you said to me?
You said, when was the car supposed to be paid off? It was.
When was the last time you made a payment on the car? Very easy for me to call and find out. What month and year?
It's been a while. It's been a while. Because we didn't know where the car was. My dealer didn't know where the car was. I didn't know where the car was. When I found out they had the car, he told me, he sent me an extra pair of keys and told me...
Show me when the last time you made a payment on this car. It was sitting for 8 months.
Yeah, and it's been every bit of 8 months since I made a payment. I couldn't pay for a car that I didn't know where it was at.
Ask your mother.
She didn't tell me. She didn't tell me. She told me. My mother told me something different. Honestly, she told me something different.
Then you're telling me that your mother's a liar. Just a second. Is what you're telling me
My mother
I'm speaking. Is what you're telling me that your mother, madam, is a liar?
Yeah, because she told me something different.
Well, evidently she lied to him, too.
Judge and daughter Giovanna Bedford say that neighbors Veronica Hill, Essie Grayson, and Charles Bowie destroyed their Halloween decorations. The plaintiffs claim the harassment stems from a car sale gone bad.
Okay, can I see the bills, please, for the car? Your daughter's a scammer.
No, I'm not. I can't back
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because she's lying to me. No car dealer allows you to keep a car if you haven't made payment in a year. And you can't
I have a very good rapport with him. You can call him.
I'm sure you have a wonderful rapport with him.
We didn't know where the car was at.
I am absolutely positive you have a wonderful rapport with him.
We didn't know where the car was at. I had no idea. My mother knew. I was gone. I moved to New York. I came back. I asked my mother, Judge. I asked her. I did not know
where the car was.
Listen,
she knew, but she didn't tell me.
One of the things that your daughter knew was that she had a car.
Yes. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
One of the things your daughter knew was that she had a car that had payments on it, which she wasn't making. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
She knew that when she moved to New York.
Yes.
She knew that when she didn't make a payment the months of August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. That she knew.
I know.
I'm speaking. Despite her rapport with the auto dealership. Do you understand?
I do.
Very good.
But I told my dealer, he worked with me, Your Honor, because I didn't know where the car was at. I asked my mom when I got back, he said, well, just hold on. We'll wait and see if there anything comes up, if the car is reported lost or in an accident or anything.
Could you do me a favor? Close your mouth. Mr. Bowie.
Yes, ma'am.
How long has Miss Big Mouth had the car in her possession?
It was since the 19th of October.
19th of October. 19th of October to November. November to December. 2 months that she's known where the car is.
Yes, ma'am.
And with Mr. Rapport, could have come and repossessed her because she hasn't made a payment in 2 months.
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
That's correct.
Okay. So you get your $1,300 back because you put in a lot of money.
Yes, ma'am.
You paid $500. Did they give you back the $500?
No, ma'am.
$1,800 on your counterclaim.
Can I see the receipt?
You could
on
say
that?
nothing. You had no right to sell this car if what your daughter says is true, and I doubt it. But at this point, I'm not putting Mr. Bowie in a position of having to go and repossess the car. Do you understand?
Okay.
They have every right to be furious with you.
That's correct.
Every right to be furious with you and your daughter.
That's right.
We offered to pay the money back to them before it even got here, Your Honor.
The $500?
We offered to pay that and the cost of fixing the car.
Did they offer to pay you back the cost of fixing the car?
No, ma'am. They just offered to pay me the cost of purchase.
$500. Well, that's what she said when she walked in here. When she walked in here and started to tell me the story, she said, we offered him $500.
Yes, ma'am.
I told Mr. Charles.
Said they offered him $500.
That was me. I offered him the $500 back, and I said if he can show me the receipts, then I would be more than willing to pay, making him payments. That's when I was threatened that if I don't have his money by the Monday, she's dead, her husband's dead, and the kids are dead. That was the threat that was told to us.
He said we didn't have the money by Monday, $1,800, that my mom would be raising my kids.
And he also told me that,
so we did offer.
Let me make the payments to you. He said, you shouldn't be responsible for making your daughter payments.
That's what it was.
I said, it doesn't matter who make the payments as long as you get your money. I don't have $1,800. I can give you the $500, but I have to give me the receipts, and I work out the...
Let me ask you this question, and I want your daughter to keep her mouth shut. Does the car run now?
The car was running, yes.
Since your daughter is back from New York, has she driven the car? Just look at me.
Yes.
Has she driven the car?
She's driven.
Just answer my question.
Yes, ma'am.
When she left the car, was the car able to be driven?
No.
Right. That's what she said. You could have sold the car and given him his money right away. And then he doesn't have to take payments. That's fair. That's reasonable. Because of your misrepresentation and your daughter's irresponsibility, what happened is he's out $1,800. And if you wanted to make him whole and do the right thing, and if you didn't have $1,800 right away, you sell the car and you give him the $1,800. You could probably get $1,800 for it. Is it worth $1,800, Mr. Bowie?
Ma'am, it's worth a little bit more than $1,800.
Fine. So I have no sympathy for you. Now you want to tell me, please, about the Halloween decorations? And tell me quickly.
Well,
it's all decorated. You decorated a haunted house. And one of the things was somebody in a casket with shoes, something I don't want to know about. And you want to tell me what happened to the dead body with the casket and the shoes.
Okay. We was upset because we couldn't decorate because the threats, they were fighting in the streets, calling us out, threatening us. We couldn't leave a driveway. Friends come over.
Okay, fine.
So
they were angry. They were angry. They were angry. You should have sold the car and given him his money. Next, let me hear about the vandalism, please.
So I was sitting in the backyard, and I saw Miss Veronica, her sister, in my yard on my lawn with the stick that she tried to hit me with. And she was swinging at the dummy that we made, my kids and us, all of us made.
Let me see it, please.
And then I have...
I didn't speak to you. I don't want to speak to you. I spoke to you enough. Okay, so now we have dummies. And now I see that the dead dummies look even more dead. They're on the ground. All right. So you saw what? And the shoe was off?
Yeah, they threw...
And you put the shoes off?
She threw the shoes down the street, her and her sister.
Why'd you do that for?
I didn't do that, Your Honor.
Yes, you did. You sure you did?
No, Your Honor.
Sure
it was the boy next door.
It was the boy next door? Did you tell that to the police?
No, I didn't, Your Honor.
Why not?
Because the police never came for the vandalism.
Really? They never spoke to you?
No,
I have the police report.
This is right here.
They spoke on me on my baby's birthday.
And she was arrested.
How old are you? I'm 22.
She was arrested.
I was
also.
never arrested, Your Honor.
Well, whatever happened, whether she was
arrested.
signing out. But then, you know, I have to get told I'm going to be put in body bags. I think that was just stressful enough every time I walked out the door.
Did you hear me say that I don't want to hear your voice anymore?
Be quiet, Joanne. Okay.
And how much damage did this cause to the dead dummy?
I'm countersuing for the same amount.
You're not going to get the same amount.
Okay, because we were stressed out. We couldn't do
Why
daily
didn't you just
functions.
relieve all your stress by selling the car and giving him his money?
Your Honor, I tried to do the right thing as I...
No, you didn't. The right thing was to force your daughter to sell the car and pay him the money that he spent on the car. Not $50 a month, not $100 a month. You have the right to sell it, and give him his money, because it was your mistake that caused this bad blood. Before this happened, did you all get along?
Yes.
Well, that's ridiculous.
It is.
It's ridiculous.
It is.
And you know whose fault it is? You know whose fault it is?
My fault, because
No, hers.
If my mom would have never sold them the car, I had no idea.
Didn't you? I don't want to hear your voice. It's your daughter's irresponsibility that caused the bad blood with the family. That doesn't mean that Miss Veronica... Listen to me. Do you think I believe you? I don't. They don't have damages. You've clearly been annoying them, and it's got to stop. Do you understand?
Yes.
It has to stop. You're 22 years old. Are you married?
No.
What'd you have a baby for? What?
Because
You
I
live with
wanted
your
one.
mother?
Yes.
You live with your father?
Yes.
Very good. You think your mother wanted to be a mother taking care of babies all over again? She's got grown children. What does she need more babies for? But you made a baby. Act responsibly. Responsible people don't vandalize other people's homes. Take your hands out of your pockets. Responsible mothers don't vandalize other people's homes. Do you get me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good.
But I didn't do it.
Yes, you did. You or your sister. I'm not sure which one. But there's no question in my mind that you did.
Your Honor.
It's got to stop. Life is too short. Mr. Bowie.
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been neighbors?
For about 3 years.
Life is too short. Do you own your own home?
Yes, ma'am.
And you?
I own my property. He's renting.
Okay. Shh. I'm trying to make peace. Don't you want me to try to make peace?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to live in war with your neighbors? Don't live in war.
No, I
It's
don't.
very unpleasant. And it all started over this car.
Yes, it did.
Well, the car's going to be resolved. Okay, Mr. Bowie?
Yes, ma'am.
You have to rein in your family.
Okay.
You have to make sure Miss Attitude over here does the right thing and her sister does the right thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Sister or brother? You have a sister or a brother?
I have a sister.
How old are they?
She's 15, 19, and 3.
And 3?
Your Honor, it was the whole entire family. It was Mr. Boyd, Miss Grayson,
I'm
the
trying
whole entire
to make
family.
peace.
Okay, this is what I'm saying where my restraining order comes in at, because they came to my door to fight us, calling us out in the middle of the street.
And your point is?
This is harassment.
Of course it's
This is
harassment. You should have
mental
paid him back
anguish
the
to
money
me and
that
my
you, in
kids.
fact, stole from him.
But they don't give a right.
Listen to me. You should have paid him back the money that you, in effect, stole. Then you wouldn't have had the harassment.
I didn't him to put me in a
Shavonna,
body bag.
Shut up, please.
Perfect. Oh.
I was just
Should have
trying
done that
to-
a long time ago. I'm going to say it once more. I'm trying to make peace. You evidently lived in peace for 3 years next door to these people. That peace was destroyed over this car deal.
Yes.
I am now fixing the car deal. Mr. Bowie is getting his $1,800 back. I'm trying to make peace. Do you understand?
I understand.
Do you understand?
I understand.
Your case is dismissed. Mr. Bowie, you're getting your $1,800. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just hate that this has caused our neighbors to feel
They get their money, and I have my car. I'm happy.
They wanted their car back, and they was just frustrated about the car and everything.
I never touched their stuff. I was sitting on my old raggedy car watching them do it.
Mr. Bowie threatened to put me in body bags.
I can understand the fact of you giving a statement like that due to the fact that you had to cover yourself.
He literally came to our door, told my mother that if we didn't have his money, that she would be raising her grandchildren.
She needed to find some kind of way to make it look like I was the bad guy.
What upset me the most is the way the family acted with the violence.
There was no kind of compromise with them.
We're no longer talking to him.
I don't care to ever speak to them again.
The whole neighborhood wants them out.
Folks have a seat.
Ugh, what ridiculousness. I mean, I just don't understand, but apparently are intelligent people getting themselves involved in somebody else's mess. Miss Lane, according to you, you allowed this young lady, would that be you? who was 17, the child of this young lady over here, to move into your house because she was the girlfriend of your 15-year-old son. Nothing could be dumber. Let's start out with that.
I agree, Your Honor.
Perfect. Then we have no problem.
In hindsight, it was a mistake.
The dumbest thing, and people do it all the time, seemingly intelligent people. A parent can't control their child. A parent says, I'm just as happy if some stranger takes her into the house, or some stranger takes him into the house. And reasonably intelligent people say, well, maybe I can fix this problem, and bring them into their home, which is probably a very calm, reasonable place to live, and all of a sudden there's turmoil. In any event, having gotten that off my chest for the rest of the world to hear, don't take somebody else's problem children into your house. She came to live with you.
Yes.
And there was an episode where you believed that she required immediate medical assistance.
Yes.
She was taken to a hospital emergency room. You're responsible for the bill, and you want her mother to pay that bill.
Correct.
Then there are charges and counter charges of harassment, which I'm really not interested in, because I think that that's a bunch of nonsense, because if this bill had been paid, we wouldn't have any harassment. So I'm turning to Miss Hess. Why did you allow your 17-year-old daughter to move out of your house?
Well, number one, she was rebelling. I said, do you want to take your little wings and fly and test me on this, being 17 years old and working 2 jobs and trying to maintain? Then you go right ahead.
Just a second. Who's working 2 jobs, her or you?
I was.
Okay.
And I tried to talk to this lady, but it wasn't possible.
Just a second. So you told her to get out?
Well, she took it upon herself
No,
to
just
do
a
the
second.
time.
I'm asking you whether you told her to get out.
At the time, when she was yelling and screaming about it, I said, well, if you think that's what you need to do, Chris, then you go right ahead. And then you're going to find out.
You're talking about your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
You said to your daughter, get out.
17. Rebelling. No.
Did your mother tell you to get out of the house?
No.
What did she say?
I said I wanted to go live with Francesca.
And your mother said what?
She said, if that's what you want to do, then go.
Your Honor.
What?
The story that I was receiving was that Kristen was having extreme abuse issues with her mother.
From whom?
From her mother.
From whom were you receiving this story?
Both Kristen and my son.
All I want you to do is tell me what Kristen said to you, not your son. Where is your son?
He does not want any further...
He's not here.
Correct.
Fine, then you can't tell me anything that your son had to say, only what Kristen had to say to you. Tell
Okay.
me what she said about the abuse she was having from her mother.
She said that there was physical abuse. She also stated that her mother had some mental issues and that there was some extreme situations regarding that.
Is that what you told her?
No. I
What did
never
you tell
talked
her?
to her about anything.
That's not true, Your Honor.
I didn't.
Well, what reason did you give her for wanting to come and live with her?
She wanted me to be a nanny.
Nah, that's ridiculous. That's a lot of baloney.
I don't need a nanny.
Just to say, that's a lot of baloney.
Her husband was going to Iraq, and she said she wanted me to move in to help with Carly.
That's baloney. You just told me that you had this discussion with your mother, and your mother said you were rebelling, and you were talking back to her, and you were difficult. And you said, I want to go move in with my boyfriend. And she said, if that's what you want to do, go. So don't tell me she offered you a job as a nanny, because that's ridiculous.
I think that's what it ended up being when she got there. Then
Well, when she got there, she may have said, listen, can you help me out with the children or the child? I mean, she's living there. She's supporting her. I assume you gave her no money, right?
Oh, of course not.
Of course. Well, that's not of course not. It's not of course not. You told her to go. That doesn't mean you're absolved from the responsibility of supporting her. She's under 18. Do you understand?
Right.
Fine. Okay. So, when she got there, she said, listen, you're here, you're eating my food, you're living under my roof, you're using my gas and electric and water and telephone, you can help out with the kids. But that's not why you went. Now, tell me about this episode that landed you in the hospital.
I had a urinary tract infection.
You had a what?
Urinary tract infection.
From too much sex?
No.
From what?
I get them. It runs in my family. We get them really easily.
Oh. Have you had that problem when you lived with your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Has your mother ignored the problem?
No, ma'am.
She's taken care of the problem.
Yes, ma'am.
How is she taking care of the problem?
She would take me to the doctor.
And how often did she do that?
Every time I would get sick.
You know why she did that?
Because she cares.
No, because she cares. I hope she cares. But she did that because the law requires that she take care of her minor child's medical conditions. Otherwise, she's guilty of neglect. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Now, when you were living with Miss Lane and you got this urinary tract infection, tell me about what you did. Did you scream? Were you crying?
Yeah, I was crying.
Were you crying because you told her you were in pain?
Yes.
What did you say to her?
I said my stomach hurts really bad.
So what did Miss Lane do?
She wanted to take me to the hospital.
And what did you say?
I said I wanted to wait for my mom to get off work to take me.
Is that what you told her?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what she told you?
No.
What did she say?
In fact, Kristen had spent the majority of the day with her mother, and her mother had gone into work late in the evening.
You mean it wasn't hurting when you were with your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you tell your mother about it?
Yes.
And what did she do?
She wanted to take me.
What did she do?
Nothing.
Right. She went to work.
Exactly.
And you went to work. And you went back to Miss Lane's house.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if you have a history of urinary tract infections, and you know that it becomes a problem and it's chronic, why didn't you take the day off from work and take her to the doctor?
I told her I was going to take her the next day to doctor's care. We didn't have the money for the emergency room. I said, drink water and cranberry juice through the night until I can get to you, because we didn't have the money to take off. And I said, I'll take you tomorrow, first thing.
Then you're neglecting your child. Why didn't you take her that day?
Because I had to work.
That's not an excuse when your child is sick.
She couldn't drink water and cranberry juice. I've done that for years.
An excuse. Well, evidently it didn't work.
This one here kept calling, harassing me at work. Tried to run my daughter off the road.
Just a second.
Going to school. I said, Kristen, let me help you. Mom, I can handle it. Mom, I can handle it. It's been nothing that's been like a fatal attraction.
What are you blabbering about?
Francesca Lane says her son's ex-girlfriend, Kristen Hess, and her mom, Susan, owe for medical bills resulting from Kristen being rushed to the emergency room.
Now, your daughter spends the day with you. She tells you that she's got the urinary tract infection back, which she's had before, which you know is chronic, which she says runs in your family. And you say to her, go home to Miss Lane's house, drink water and cranberry juice, and I'll see you tomorrow.
I said, drink water and cranberry juice so I can get you there tomorrow, because I was at work.
Till tomorrow. What did I say that was wrong?
I was at work.
And who cares? Your child is sick. You're not supporting her. How long had you been living with Miss Lane before you got this urinary tract infection?
Maybe not even a month.
And in the month's period of time, how much money did you give Miss Lane from your mother to cover your expenses?
I only paid like $15. The agreement was $15 a week for a few
How
weeks.
much money did you get from your mother to give Miss Lane to take care of your expenses was my question.
None. None.
You have other children at home?
I have 4 children.
How many children do you have?
I have 2.
How old are they? You have a 16-year-old
I have
at
a
home.
16-year-old in Virginia with her father.
So you don't have any children at home?
She lives with me.
She wasn't living with you when she lived with Miss Lane.
I didn't want her to go over there. She shouldn't have let her go over there. And it turned into a harassment thing with this lady.
Miss Hess, that's a lot of excuses. If your daughter spent the day with you, day before this incident occurred, then you should have said to her, sweetheart,
I was not.
You're not going
spending
home.
the day with her that day. I was at work.
Oh. How much is the bill?
Your Honor, I have one bill for $13.86, a physician bill for $2.11, and I also took care of all her prescription bills, which came to right around $70.
But, Your Honor.
Go.
Can we show you on the paperwork where this one went
She
there?
told me that she wanted to foster me. She wanted to adopt me, put me on her health insurance, her driving insurance, wanted to make me part of the family, everything. She even wrote it on the paper that she was my foster mom, told me not to worry about the bill, that she would take care of it until Colby broke up with me, and now she's trying to get me for the bill.
Went back and changed
You
the paper.
are an idiot. And that's also probably congenital. Listen to me very carefully. Your mother is responsible until you are 18, which you are not, for your food, clothing, shelter, medical care, and all other necessaries, period. End of discussion. Unless you are an emancipated minor, which I haven't heard you went to court to become an emancipated minor. Do I make myself clear? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $16.67. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
How is that excused? You may step out.
Judge Judy hit the nail on the head. I think everything she decided in the case was accurate.
She was 17 years old. She rebelled for a couple weeks. I said, hey, little birdie, take your wings and fly.
Her mother was exhibiting mental problems at the time.
It is hereditary. We've carried, urinary tract infections through the years.
It was constant drama.
The 4-year-old lady's gonna harass the 17-year-old girl at school. Yes, at school, sweetheart. And you do know me. I babysat your little girl.
If another teenager were to come to me, I would say, go home, work it out with your mom.
I'm just glad she's out of my life and this is over with.
Thanks, Judge Judy.
Folks have a suit.
Mr. Banks, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time with her children.
Yes, ma'am.
It didn't work out. You moved out. And it is your claim that there was an agreement with the defendant that... Could you? Good. You all ready now?
Yeah.
You claimed that there was an agreement with the defendant that until you found your own place, because you were going to be staying with friends or relatives, that she would keep your property, television, a couch, a computer. She could use them till you found your own space. You found your own place a couple of months later, and you want your property back. The defendant says that the property that you left there were either gifts to her or property that she has been paying for and therefore belongs to her. There's also a second part of your case, Ms. Ornelas, and that is that Mr. Banks's dog bit one of your daughters, and you had out-of-pocket expenses for her medical bills, and you also took off days from work to take care of her. That's the second part of your lawsuit on a counterclaim. Your daughter, who is where? That would be you, is also here. She has her own lawsuit against Mr. Banks. So when we get to that part of your claim that involves the dog, we're going to do both of those cases together because it's foolish for me to have to hear the same facts twice. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Do you understand?
Oh, yeah, I understand.
Now, all I have to do is to keep that organized in my own aged mind. All right, Mr. Banks. What property do you claim the defendant has that belongs to you?
A 42-inch Toshiba.
TV.
TV.
Okay, so let's start with the TV, so we do one thing at a time. When did you and the defendant move?
It was in 04.
Do you have the month in 04?
I do not.
Do you?
I do. I have the lease.
Okay.
We moved in on August of 05.
When was the television purchased?
In 99. I purchased that on my own when I was living by myself.
So you moved in with it?
Yes, ma'am.
You moved in together. He came with his property, which was a 42-inch television set. Why doesn't he get it back?
He moved out a year ago.
Yes?
And when he moved out a year ago, he said that I can have it. Well, when he left all his stuff there, and he took 2 TVs and left that one behind.
Which televisions did he take?
He took one that was a gift to both of us from his father, and he took one that he already had. So he already had taken 2 TVs.
Yes.
And he said that we can have the one that was at the house, which is the big screen.
Did you give it to her as a gift?
No, ma'am.
When for the first time did he ask you for the television back?
In December of 07, he asked for it back.
When had you moved out, Mr. Banks?
It was last year when I moved out, March of 07. When I moved out, I basically furnitured the whole house.
Okay. No, I understand. I read your complaint, and your complaint said things weren't working out. You weren't getting along.
Right.
She had children living with her, and you felt as if the right thing to do was for you to move because she had the children.
Right.
Okay, which was a nice thing to do. And when you left, you took just your personal property.
I took my necessities.
Okay. How many children were you living there with?
I have 4 children.
So he said he wasn't going to stay there and fight with you.
Right.
He decided to move, which is the right thing to do.
Well, prior to that, we had
Just a second. Was the right thing to do.
Right.
You wouldn't like it if he said to you, get out of the house, take your 4 children and go.
He did tell me to do that at one time. He
But
said
ultimately he did not. Because you also have a counterclaim for rent nonsense, which is ridiculous, because you agreed that it was not working out. You weren't going to keep somebody who wasn't working out in your house with 4 children, right?
he left his belongings there for 7 months.
So what? You were there with 4 children, and he moved out, and he did the right thing, left you there with your kids so that there was not the kind of fighting that very often happens when a relationship goes south. And I believe him when he said, I'll come back for my stuff when I find a permanent place to live. And you said, okay.
And he did, and he never got his stuff. He had a permanent place in June, which he stood there for about 7 to 8 months in a house with his friend and didn't get all his things. I had asked him to put it in storage. He told me no, because he's still on the lease. He's not taken.
Okay. So now, Ms. Ornelius, you acknowledge that you had a discussion with him. Come and get your stuff.
Yes.
Because that was your arrangement.
Right.
Well, at first you say, in your statement, you say it was a gift. And
Well,
you told
the
me
other
just a second, and you told me, I'm just dealing with the television.
Oh, okay.
So now the television, sir, the defendant acknowledges that you had an agreement that this stuff was going to be returned to you. So the TV, you get back. What else?
We have the satellite, Toshiba, laptop, computer. I purchased that before I even met Mr. Ornelas. I was in college. And
That's a very old computer.
It is, but it's a very nice Toshiba. I'm familiar with it.
Why didn't you take that with you? That's not so difficult to take.
It's not. The kids were doing a lot of MySpace at the time. I mean, 7 or 8 hours a day. They were always on the computer. I didn't have nowhere to put it. The room that I was renting at my friend's house, it was already furniture.
So you had no computer?
No, I didn't need a computer at that time. I have computer access at my job, so I left it there for them to use.
Don't you want to leave it for them now?
No, I don't.
Why?
because I'm moving on now and I need a computer at my house, I was just rolling with the
Okay, so
situation.
now I'll hear you about the computer.
When we moved in with each other, I had my own computer. He told me to give it away because we would have the one for all of us.
Does that sound right?
Vaguely.
Well, then she keeps the computer.
Okay.
See how easy this is? Next.
The couches.
Now, I understand that the couches are financed. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, in my name.
Who's been paying for them?
I have.
On time?
I was late a few times.
No.
You can't be this credit.
I have printouts of the actual statements.
Can I see them, please?
Yes, you can. They're dated from the most recent date back. There might be about 4 or 5 times in there where the statement balance is where it should be, and then I'd say 11 of the times it's in the $200 ranges, more than late. And
Okay, very, very easy. This is very easy to resolve.
yes.
How much have you paid so far, Miss Ornelius, for the couches?
After he left, I paid $954.
$954.
Yes.
Your Honor,
Mr.
the dispute with the couches wasn't that I necessarily want them back. I didn't want to leave it.
Listen to me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to give her $954 and you're going to get your couches back. Is that reasonable?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Perfect. She can't ruin your credit by making late payments.
Right.
So she'll have $954 and she can go get new couches if she wants to. But that's what she invested in the couches. You'll get them back.
I agree. Yes, ma'am.
Reasonable?
Absolutely.
So on your counterclaim, you get $954 and he gets the couches.
If I can pay the full balance, well, I know I can, within 2 weeks, can I do that?
No. He's getting the couches.
Okay.
$954 is what you paid, being financed on his bill. Can't do that. You could have done that a long time ago. Paid off the couches, and then he would have been
Right.
out. You chose not to do that. Now you come to me. I want to make it 1, 2, 3. It's clear. It's over.
Okay.
$954. He gets the couches back. What else? That's it?
That was it.
Perfect. Now, you want rent from him. You're not going to get it. He moved out. My sense from the two of you that it was something that was agreed upon that he moved out. Do you have a tenant?
Do I have a tenant?
Is my question. Do you have a tenant?
No.
No. So you're living there with your children.
Right.
Good. That's what you should do.
Your Honor.
Does it sound as if I need your help?
No, ma'am.
Judgment. Delia Ornelas for the return of a 42-inch television, a laptop, a couch. Delia has a countersuit for unpaid rent.
Now, the only other thing that you are suing him for is damages from a dog bite.
Your Honor.
What?
I had one more item that I...
What?
There was a matter in the security deposit for the house. When we moved into the house, there was an agreement with the owner of the house that I would do all the maintenance of the house for our security deposit. So my actual labor paid for our security deposit when we moved in. My dad owns his own landscaping company, and I do...
And your point is?
There's $750 left in the security deposit that she agreed to give me back the full amount.
But you actually didn't put in any money.
No, no physical money, right?
Get over it.
Okay.
Perfect. So now, Bird, we have resolved the case of Mr. Banks. And now we are going to deal with the next case, which involves this young lady. She's the plaintiff. She's going to stand with her mother, and Mr. Banks is going to move over there because he's now the defendant.
Okay. Switch. Everybody switch. You're reminded you're still under oath.
Okay, good. What's your first name?
Regina.
Regina, how old are you?
20.
And you were living in the house with your mom and Mr. Banks?
Yes.
When Mr. Banks moved in with your mom, did he have a dog?
No, he bought the dog in November 2006.
So he bought the dog after you were living as a family.
Yeah.
When he went and purchased it, I didn't know he was going to do that. He came home with the dog without my knowledge.
Mr. Banks, you were living with the plaintiff and her 4 children. I assume that you discussed a dog.
At times, yes.
Tell me about the purchase of this dog.
I wanted it to more be of a surprise. We discussed it several times. I went out to Marysville, California, a breeder out there. It had a very well done establishment. I purchased the dog and brought him home.
When you brought him home, what did the plaintiff say to you?
We got a dog.
No, I was not happy. I told him.
No, tell me what you said. I'm not interested in whether you were happy or not. What did you say?
When he brought it, we couldn't do this. We just moved into a place, and I wasn't ready to have an animal.
Is that what you said to him?
Yes, I told him that.
And what did he say to you?
He said, well, I wanted this. I've always wanted a dog, so I
Just
got
a
me
second.
dog.
I've wanted this. I always wanted a dog. And this was in November of '06. And you didn't move out until March of '07.
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you say?
Well, he said, well, this is my dog. I'm going to raise it. I'm going to take care of it. You know, of course, we love animals, so we're going to go ahead and be around the dog and make sure he's fed and taken care of. Well, through the months, the dog started getting aggressive and playing a lot. And when he'd get aggressive, Norman would punch him. And he's bitten Norman twice and also bit his sister once in the lip. And I believe it had to do with the aggressive that Norman would be with that dog, not as in playing. When Norman would be angry with the dog, he'd punch him.
And when the dog bit you, you and your siblings and your mother and Mr. Banks were living together as a family. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
And you were both contributing to the household bills?
Right.
Absolutely.
And you were paying rent?
Right.
So for all intents and purposes, you were a family.
Well, he told me twice, 80% of the time, he wished I didn't have kids.
Listen, this isn't buyer's remorse, madam.
Right. Okay.
Now, your daughter can sue both of you because you allowed this dog to be in your home. This dog became part of your family. I just want you to think about this. Let's say you were married to each other, because that's what you were doing. You were playing house like you were married to each other. You had a lease, you purchased things, you went out together, you slept together, you brought him into your home with your 4 children, you shared a room together. He went out and surprised the family with a dog. You didn't say, get the dog out of here. You can't stay here with the dog, and put him out with the dog. So you said, fine. It's the way a lot of people get dogs. Fine. It can stay. And after it bit somebody, you didn't say, you have to get rid of the dog. And if you don't, you have to go. You didn't say that.
I asked him to take the dog to
You
his
didn't
mom's.
say that. It's different if he's living in his own place and he brings the dog to your house, and while he's visiting your house with the dog bites one of your children. That's totally different. You're all living together. What?
He starved the dog for 4 days. That's why he bit her.
Why didn't you, if you knew
He
that
told
that
me
happened?
he told me
Listen to
after the
me.
fact.
Nah. You're
But
making
he was
things
only-
up as you're going along.
He asked him.
When
was
did he
feeding
tell
him
you after the
grits.
fact?
He told me after, when she was bit, because I had asked him at one time, did you buy dog food? He says, I'm going to get it tonight. And I was working a lot of hours and then taking care of my kids. That was his responsibility. I have my 4 kids. And then when she was bit, I asked him, where's the dog food? And he says, I haven't got it yet. He was feeding the dog grits, and I didn't know that.
You do not have a lawsuit against him. You allowed this animal in your home, and you're living together as a family. You can't have it both ways.
I didn't
You
allow.
can't-
He went.
Yes, you did. Absolutely, you did. I'm not excusing him. I'm just saying you don't have a lawsuit. Not everything is a lawsuit. You know, when people choose to live together without benefit of marriage, and then they say, well, we want all the benefits of living together as a family, but if it doesn't work out, we want to be able to sue him like a stranger. But you can't have it both ways. You signed a lease together, you brought your children into your relationship together, and he went out and bought a dog. Now, if you didn't like it, when he wasn't looking, you take the dog and you return it.
I can't do that.
Of course not. But then you can't sue him if he bites one of your children.
But if negligence, it was his fault for not feeding him.
You listen, you're not getting there. Similarly with you, you lived in the house?
Yes.
You took care of the dog?
Well, the night that, he bit my ear off, I fed him,
You fed him? Well, I'm saying you took care of him. What did you feed him?
Jack in the Box.
What do you mean, Jack in the Box?
Well, because me and my sister just came home, and it was 12:30 at night, and the dog just kept barking at us, for food.
Were you eating junk food?
The Jack in the Box, yeah.
Yeah, you were eating it, and the dog was begging for food.
Yeah.
And she fed him.
Goodbye, you have no lawsuit. Grow up. Not everything is a lawsuit. If you're going to sue him, you have to sue your mother. She permitted the dog to be in the house. And you didn't have to live there. You're a grown-up. You're 20 years old. Do you understand?
Yes.
You didn't like the dog? Don't go there. He's not liable for a dog biting a member of his family. It's ridiculous. Goodbye.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm sorry that it was an unfortunate event, but something else occurred that night that led to her getting bit.
He just couldn't handle being around my kids.
He was gnawing on me first, and then she went to comfort him, and he bit her in her ear.
The dog was growling and barking, and I wouldn't, even if it was my dog, go to hug a growling 90-pound Rottweiler.
You may be seated. Young man, have a seat.
Mr. Hutton, the defendant is your former girlfriend. It is your claim that she and her minor son, this young man here, I assume, are responsible for slashing the tires on your car. You indicate that you have surveillance tape which proves that she slashed your tires. Ms. Pike says she did not do it, nor did her son. She is counterclaiming, and she alleges some very serious harassment by you of her after the breakup, and she is counterclaiming for $5,000. So, some quick background. When did the two of you no longer remain a couple?
It was about July of this 07.
And how long had you been together?
Since about July of 04, off and on.
Did you ever live together?
Yes, most of the time.
In whose home?
My friend of mine, where I rented a room, that's where we live most of the time.
When do you allege that she slashed the tires on your car?
On January 11th, 2008.
You said you had a surveillance tape of that. Can I see it, please?
Yes.
Have you ever seen this tape, Ms. Pike?
No, ma'am.
Before Officer Byrd plays the tape, do you want to modify the story that you told me?
No, Your Honor.
So you deny that either you or your son are responsible for the slashed tires?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that is as truthful as everything else you're going to tell me today?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'd like to see the tape, please.
Well, this is my truck is the blue one parked there, and she pulls in kind of at an angle, parks, and you'll see the passenger door open, and her son runs around the front of the truck, and a friend of his runs around the rear of the truck, and apparently you can't really see it, but her son slashes the front tire, and the kid that ran around the back comes back. They both meet up at the truck again, and then I guess the guy that ran around the back didn't have a knife, so he got the knife.
Don't tell me what you're guessing.
Okay.
I want to know. Shh. I want to know where she is.
She's driving.
I don't see that. Do you see that in that?
I don't see that in that, but she has admitted it to the police.
You have a police report where she admits that?
It doesn't. It's been whited out, that part. But I do have the police report.
I'll take a look at the police report. Is that your truck, Ms. Pike?
No, Your Honor.
Do you have a truck that looks like that?
Yes, I do.
So you have a truck that looks exactly like that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So there's 3 other ones on my street, too. There's a lot of them out there, Your Honor.
All right.
This is the police report that is whited out, and this is some photo evidence of her truck, and it does show an extended bed thing in the back that you can see on the video that's in the bed of her truck.
I can see it, please.
There's a lot of those. Your Honor, can I say something?
Sure.
That evening, I had my roommate's daughter with me, and we weren't even in the area. We were in La Mirada.
Yeah, where's your roommate?
She's not here right now. She's missed enough school. They wouldn't.
Should have been. Okay, before I rule on this, you allege some serious forms of harassment by Mr. Hutton.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like you to tell me what form that harassment took.
Okay, he's
You broke up in July of 07.
Yes, Your Honor. I believe it was before that, but
Fine. Between July of 07 and January of 2008, was there harassment?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, tell me about it.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with Craigslist.
I am.
Okay. He had posted several personal ads sexually expliciting me for sex, and in turn giving out my phone number, home phone numbers, cell phone numbers, and home address, and sending guys over to my home.
Why did you do that?
I did not do that.
I have proof of that, Your Honor.
I'd like to see it. And when did he do that, Ms. Pike?
During the periods of August through the beginning of September, like the first week in September. It went on for about 3 or more weeks.
When and why?
Like the second week in September, and I had contacted Craigslist to ask them to...
delete it?
Yes, and explain to them that I had a restraining order on my ex, but he was still...
Okay, I'd like to see what you have, and I assume that you have proof that he was the one responsible for putting...
He admits to it, Your Honor, in a couple of the letters that I was able to go through. Actually, he admits it several times, but I'll try to find that letter for you.
Excuse me, may I say something?
Unless you want to admit that you put this on, I want to see her proof.
No, I would not admit that. The reason she is so angry and vindictive is because when she moved out of living with me, she moved into an ex-boyfriend's house that I found out she was using his credit cards to gamble online with, and I turned her in. I told the guy that she was doing that.
What'd you do that for?
And she, why did because
why did you do that for?
Because she got almost $1,000 from my accounts after she left from me. She used automatic withdrawals out of my account for almost $1,000 doing the same thing, gambling online.
Mr. Hutton, that's your problem with her. What'd you call the boyfriend for?
No, he's a mutual friend. Well, he's her ex-boyfriend, but he's a mutual friend, and he's in prison right now, so he's not there. She was in charge of his house using his credit card, and you know.
You're just a troublemaker.
No, ma'am.
Sure you are.
I don't
How did
agree
you
with
find?
that.
Just a second. How did you find out that she was using his credit cards to gamble online?
Through mine or her email accounts.
Just a second. So, after you broke up, you were monitoring her email accounts?
No, they were shared accounts. I found out through our shared email accounts that she was using his credit cards to gamble online, and since she did the same thing to me, I told her ex-boyfriend that's in prison, I wrote him a letter and told him what was going on, and that she moved in a new boyfriend into his house, so I told him.
You're a troublemaker.
Well, however
You're a troublemaker.
That's not true.
Oh, I'm telling you it's true.
Your Honor, as far as the gambling is concerned, I was using the credit cards. He's saying that I stole these credit cards and I was using them to gamble up large amounts of money. I paid for those credit cards. I was left in charge of the credit cards, the bills. So if I used $25 to play bingo online, but I paid that. I was paying those bills, Your Honor. I didn't steal anybody's credit card. I had permission to use the credit cards. And it wasn't like...
I want you to show me, look, there's had to be a lot of pieces of paper.
Yes.
I want you to show me where he admits that he posted your name and these photographs, which are very, very descriptive, online.
Judge, one more thing I'd like to add is why she's really doing all this is because...
Just a second. She's not doing anything. You sued her.
Well, I mean, as far as
Just
being...
a second. She's not doing... You sued her.
Right, but as far as stabbing my tires and stuff, the reason she's being so aggressive or vindictive or whatever it is because of what I was telling you before about me telling the guy that he's getting ripped off.
Mr. Hutton, I want you to understand something. If you posted these pictures of her on the internet, thank you. If you had anything to do with these pictures, not only are you going to pay for your own tires, I would have destroyed your whole car. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, I don't know which pictures you're talking about,
just a
but
second.
yes, I understand what you're saying.
I just want you to clearly understand. So don't ascribe motives to her. I don't say that vandalism is an appropriate response, but if I knew that somebody posted this vile filth on the internet about me, thereby exposing me to all kinds of predators and perverts, it wouldn't be their tires I would go after. It would be something much closer to them.
His ex-girlfriend, Andrea Pike, slashed the tires on his truck. Andrea is countersuing, claiming Frank posted nude pictures of her on Craigslist.
This letter, sir, is dated November 7th, 2007. It is clearly from you because the handwriting is the same as on the police report. And you say here, now that your friend, quote, is actually gone, you must be lonely. You remember writing that to Andrea?
Not necessarily, not really.
Not really. You have changed addresses and have told me that I had something to do with it or was to blame for it. In all honesty, I was happy to see you get thrown out of bills since you were stealing from him and disrespecting him by expletive deleted your daddy in his bed. Does that sound familiar to you?
I recall that, yes. I wrote that, yes. I don't understand what that letter has to do with anything as far as... I've written her quite a few letters. She's written me quite a few letters, and I don't understand as far as letters she's written me.
Yeah.
I don't have them, but, I mean, you know, we were breaking up in a relationship.
No, you were all broken up, sir. You told me it was over July of 07. This letter was written... I'm speaking. This letter was written November 7th, 07.
Yes, but there have been a lot of things.
Which means that November 7th of 07, and this filth was posted on Craigslist up through September.
I haven't even seen the filth you're talking about, and I don't know what you're referring to because I haven't seen it. And I don't know what she's talking about because she's vindictive.
She's vindictive?
Yes.
She didn't call anybody or notify somebody that you were seeing, that you were being unfaithful, that you were being disrespectful. That's something you did.
So if you...
don't ask me questions. I don't answer your questions. I ask questions.
Would anybody that's halfway decent not tell somebody that if you see a friend getting ripped off?
You were getting even, sir. You were getting even. That's what you say in the letter.
I'd turn anybody in that was doing that, not just her.
You were getting even.
Well, that may be true, too, but I mean...
that's a different story.
No.
That's a different story. That may be true. That's very true.
So do you condone her stealing from him?
Sorry, you have absolutely no proof that she was stealing from him. Show me proof. Don't talk to me. Show me proof that she was stealing from him. Show me.
I guess I really don't have evidence of that, but I mean...
Well, that's what we're here for. We're not here to find good looks. We're here to show me proof that she was stealing from him. As opposed to, honey, here are my credit cards. You can use them if you want to. Or, I'm using the credit cards, but I pay the balance. Show me proof, sir, that she was stealing from him, or is it more about somebody who she had taken into his house and sleeping with?
Well, that's
what you say here.
But I came here to defend my truck vandalism. I wasn't even aware.
Forget it. Forget it. I see it's a white truck. I can't see him. You can't either.
Can you see the extender?
Can I see the license plate? No.
How about the extension in the bed of the truck?
Is that the only extension in the bed of a truck that exists in the county where you live?
I don't know.
No? I don't know either.
All
I know is, sir, in very close proximity to the time that all this was going on, somebody posted her name, her address, her telephone numbers, and vile pictures of anatomy on the internet, inviting people to come, call, and visit. Now, I don't see your picture on that either, just like I don't see his picture on here. Is it more likely than not it was you? Probably, because you do things like that. Can I say for sure? No. I can't say for sure that he was the one who posted these pictures.
Your Honor, I've got more evidence.
Let me see.
As far as that's concerned.
This letter doesn't say it. It insinuates it, but it doesn't say it. You have proof. I'd love to see it.
Okay. These are things that he did publish on Craigslist. Keep looking at me like that. And also, Your Honor, if you were to go to Craigslist and...
I don't go to Craigslist, madam.
No, I'm not asking you to go into the ads. If you were to contact like their accounts department or something like that and ask them about this right here, the person that posted the ads, and give them they would...
I would have them arrested.
Your Honor?
No, I would have them arrested.
Your Honor?
I would go in, file a criminal complaint, have them arrested. It's a federal offense. The district attorney will do everything that you suggest that I do. Judges don't do that. Judges don't gather evidence for you.
Your Honor, I'm having...
Right now, there is nothing here that links him satisfactorily to the harassment, but I guarantee you that the federal prosecutors and the federal authorities can do that, madam, and I suggest that you do it. It's tantamount to stalking. It's exactly what it is. It's tantamount to stalking. I contact the federal authorities and have them arrested.
Well, since vandalism doesn't seem to be like a crime, I don't imagine why any internet...
Vandalism, my dear, is a crime if you can prove it. You can't.
She has an admission in the police report, man.
I don't see an admission in the police report. There's no admission in the police report. Only what you wrote in there.
No, there is, but it's been whited out. The police report...
Well, if it's been whited out, it doesn't exist.
Well, they won't give it to me.
If it's been whited out, it doesn't exist, sir.
I disagree with you, because it does exist.
I don't care whether you agree or not. That's why I went to law school, and I'm here, and you're not. If it's whited out by the police, it doesn't exist in evidence.
Oh, okay.
And if it doesn't exist in evidence, I can't use it to rule.
Right, I understand.
Good. And what I think you have to do is you need an investigator from a district attorney's office to put it together and to prosecute him. That's not me. That's not my job.
I'm not asking you to prosecute him, Your Honor. Can you ask to see his cell phone? Because I guarantee you this picture of me, which is the only picture he has of me, came from his cell phone and is on his cell phone. So he's the only one who could have posted that.
Oh, fine. Take out your cell phone.
I don't have it.
We'll get it. Get a cell phone.
And, Your Honor?
Get a cell phone.
Nope.
You would acknowledge to me, Mr. Hutton, that if that picture appears in your cell phone, that is some pretty serious evidence that you were the one responsible for that posting on Craigslist.
No, I wouldn't say that at all. Because,
well, I would.
Well,
but I would.
You're the judge.
That's right.
Right.
Now, where do you think the person who posted those pictures on Craigslist got the picture that's in your... If I find it in your phone?
I haven't seen the postings that she's talking about.
She just showed it. The only one. That one.
Well, I haven't even looked at it.
I want you to look at it. Hand it to him.
But,
thank you.
But she's...
Shh, don't speak. Just look at it. You would acknowledge to me...
I wouldn't
Mr.
write that.
Hutton,
That's something like she'd write.
Mr. Hutton, there is no question in my mind that Miss Pike did not post that picture of herself on Craigslist. There isn't a question in my mind that she did not do that and then involved and get Craigslist involved to try to get it off. So where do you think the person, let's say that picture is in your cell phone, where do you think the person who posted that got that picture that's in your cell phone, if it's there?
Where do I think the person that got that... I'm not sure if it's in there or not, but she's used my cell phone for many... I recognize the picture from somewhere, but I can't tell you where, but she's used my cell phone.
I'm going to tell you right now, Mr. Hutton, if I find that picture of her on your cell phone, that's in that Craigslist ad, I'm going to find that you're the one who spread that filth on the internet about her.
Well, that'd be completely untrue.
Well, that's a problem that you're just going to have to live with, Mr. Hutton.
Ma'am, may I say something?
Sure.
Aren't you supposed to be served before you get countersued?
What are you talking to me technicalities for, Mr. Hutton? What are you talking to me about technicalities for, sir?
I'm wondering if you're supposed to give...
Is it getting too hot for you?
No.
Is it getting too hot for you? We're getting your cell phone. Say nothing.
Sure, that's
until
fine, but I was just wondering if what's the service? I never got any service, and I was wondering if since I had to do it, why doesn't she have to do that?
You were not served with her counterclaim?
No, ma'am.
Do you have proof of service on him on the counterclaim?
He was served, Your Honor.
Well, show me.
I don't have this in the back.
We'll get it. If you're saying to me that the proof of service of the counterclaim is in the back, let's get it. Bird, Mr. Hutton says he was not served with a counterclaim. And what I'd like to do is to find proof of service on that counterclaim after I look in his camera. So could we come up here? Which one is his camera?
It's yours.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bird, could you bring it up here, please? Okay. Well, neither one of those is that picture.
No.
No. Is there any other pictures on here?
Can she find this?
Yeah.
No, she's not allowed to use my phone. I mean, come on, give me a break.
She's not using your phone. She's not using your phone.
I know, because, I don't want her to see some pictures in there.
I wouldn't.
I
bet you don't want anybody to see those.
Well, I don't care about anybody. I don't want her to see them.
Well, I certainly didn't even want to look at them, sir. They're disgusting.
You must have the wrong phone.
No, I got the right phone. I got the right phone, and I got your number.
Yeah, I don't know how to get to the rest of his pictures because he's got more pictures in here, but I got no idea how to get to the rest of them.
I'm going to take the phone, Bird. Would you go in the back and get the proof of service, please?
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Hutton, I've examined all the papers here, as there is absolutely no proof that you have been served with the counterclaim in this case. So your counterclaim is dismissed without prejudice. Reserve him. I tell you this, if you reserve him and you elect to go the route of civil court rather than criminal court, I think you're crazy. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
I do. I think you're crazy. I think that if he posted these things on the internet about you, and you have proof of that, and the district attorney can help you establish that, or the federal authorities can establish that, he's going to go to jail.
I agree, Your Honor.
Okay, then just do it right now. Okay. There's no proof that you served him.
Okay.
Your case is dismissed with prejudice. Hers is without prejudice to refiling and serving him. That's all.
Why is that excuse me? Step out.
I would guess Andrea put him there herself.
What started it all is me not wanting to talk to him or have anything to do with him anymore.
Because she can't tell the truth at all about anything?
He'll continue to do what he's been doing.
She uses men for money. There's a word for that.
Just keep on calling the local authorities, I guess.
All parties in the matter of Beltran versus Manson. Step forward, please.
Gada Beltran is suing her former friend, Darren Manson, for illegally repossessing a car that was in his name. Darren claims that Gada wasn't making her payments.
Ms. Beltran, the defendant was a friend of yours who lived in the same apartment complex. According to what I've read, you wanted a car, you didn't have sufficient credit to take out a loan on a car, and Mr. Manson said he would help you out by securing a car loan in his name. You would make the payments. The title to the car would remain in his name until the loan was paid off. You selected a car, you took out a loan. You put down a deposit of $1,000. And according to you, you faithfully made the payments on the car. And then, for no reason at all, Mr. Manson took back the car. You want him to pay you the $1,000 you put into the car as a deposit, the money that you put into the car and the car payments. In addition, you say that you had certain property in the car when he took the car back that became missing, and you want that property. When was the car purchased?
September 26th, I believe.
Was it purchased on September 26th, Mr.
No, that's not correct, Your Honor. It was purchased on September the 6th.
You have the paperwork?
I have the paperwork for that.
I'd like to see it. Thank you. 2004 BMW, and the date was September 6th. When did you pick up the car?
The same day that we got the car loan.
So it was September 6th. And when was your first payment due?
In October.
Did you have a payment book?
No, I didn't. He had access to all the payments. I just gave him the money for that.
How did you give him the money?
I gave it to him in cash because he was making a direct payment online.
That's not true, Your Honour. The first payment was due on October the 6th, and she made the first payment, but it was about 4 days late.
How did she make the payment?
She sent in the payment like a money order.
You didn't?
I didn't make the payment, no.
That's not correct, Your Honor. The first payment I gave him was in cash.
I don't believe you.
I did. My mother is a witness.
I don't believe you. I believe you gave him $1,000 to start with. He's a complete stranger to you. The only thing he's doing is doing something as a friend. How much were the payments?
$336, I think.
Show me where you took out $336 from your bank on October 6th.
I don't have a bank account. I cashed my check at a check cashing clerk.
See where I don't believe you?
First he said he was making a payment online. So I gave him the first payment in cash, and it was a week before. The second payment I made a money order because I didn't want to give it to him. I didn't feel comfortable because he kept calling me.
Just a minute. Second payment was November.
Correct.
Show me proof of November's payment.
I can't. Everything was in the car.
Do you have any notification from the lender?
Yes, the payment, Your Honour, was over 2 weeks.
Can I see it, please?
Yeah, I'll show it to you. I made the payment. You see, it was late. It was meant to be due on the 6th. That's when I paid it. I took the car back on the 20th, so it was 3 days after. That was from my bank.
Do you have any notification from the bank indicating that the payment was not made in November?
No, Your Honour. They left me a message on my cell phone. It was one of these automated things saying the payment was overdue.
$336.65 on November 23rd, 2007. You say that that's the payment that you made by money order, Miss Beltran?
Yes, Your Honor.
I don't think you did.
I did.
Show me.
It was in the car when it was stolen.
I don't believe you.
Then why did he add my name to his bank loan?
Why did he add your name to the bank loan?
Yes.
Your name should be on the bank loan.
No, it wasn't before, on the previous months, and you can look at that.
So who cares? It's your problem.
Obviously, I was making a payment.
No, not at all. Why would he make a payment in November if it was already made?
I did make the payment.
Why would he make the payment?
Because I was giving him the money in advance to make the payment.
No. You told me in November you sent a money order.
I did.
I'm coming back with the same question to you. Why would he make a payment in November if you had already made a payment in November by money order?
I'm not sure why.
What happened between September 6th, Mr. Manson, and the time you took the car back?
I called the plaintiff, Your Honour, to ask for the money for the car. I called her on a Sunday and I said I want the money for the car. She was abusive to me. She was swearing at me.
What do you mean you called her on Sunday?
I called her.
Put your hand down.
I called her.
Put your hand down.
I called her on my cell phone, Your Honour.
Sunday, what date, sir?
Sorry, it was Sunday. It would have been the 18th of November.
He called me on the 16th, Your Honor, when I was in funeral.
And what did you call her for, sir?
I called her because the payment was late, and she reassured me.
Just a second. And you knew the payment was late because they had contacted you?
That's correct, Your Honour.
And what did she say to you when you called her?
She was telling me that she sent in the payment, and I said, well, the bank have not received the money, and I told her that I need this money, and she started getting abusive.
What did she say?
She kept telling me she'd mailed in the payment, and I said to her, they don't have the payment, I need the money, my credit's going to get ruined, and I'm going to take the car back. And she then, she was cussing at me, and she hung the phone up on me.
And then you took the car back the next day?
The next day I got a key cut. I didn't even have a spare key. On the Monday I went to the dealer, got a key cut.
Mr. Manson, let me make a suggestion to you, sir. It's a very stupid thing to take out a loan for a total stranger. It's a very stupid thing to take out a loan for your child.
Yes.
It's a very stupid thing to take out a loan for your brother, sister, aunt, uncle, cousin. For a stranger, it's ridiculous because people are sometimes late in their payments. Do you understand?
I understand.
When it's you and your credit, that means you're responsible for your own credit. When you put your credit into a stranger's hands, they can destroy your credit. Now, if the payment was due on the 6th of the month and she didn't make it on the 6th of the month, you had every right to take the car back. Your arrangement was she would make the payment on time. You got it?
Yeah, okay.
So she used the car for 2 months, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And the car payments were $336. The first payment you made. The second month, you didn't make the payment, right?
No, I did make the payment.
I don't believe you.
He called me on the 4th to remind me that the car payment was going to be due. I said, I'm aware of that.
Well, then, do you live in a home?
Yes, I do.
Then you keep papers in your home?
Yes, I do.
Then you keep your papers. If he's calling you and he's concerned that he got notification that these payments were late And if you take out a money order, then you keep a copy of that, not in your car, but with your other important papers at home. You live alone?
No, I live with my mother. When he called me on the 4th to tell me that the car payment was due, he also told me he got fired from his job, and he needed money, and he wanted to try to get a loan from the bank, and they would not give him a loan due to car loan. So he wanted me to find someone else to refinance it. I said, give me a few days, and I will try to see what I can do. And then he calls me back on the 6th, nonstop, every 5 minutes, about 10 calls. I told him he was harassing me, and he needs to leave me alone. I sent in the car payment, and I've been making him the car payments. And actually, every month, I gave him a little bit more than normal, plus the insurance.
You only had the car 2 months. What do you mean every month? You only had the car 2 months. 1 month you gave him money. Quiet. 1 month you gave him money, cash, if I believe you. Second month you told me you didn't give him cash. You made the payment directly by money order. So how could you give him extra money? You only had the car 2 months.
Because I was giving him an insurance payment too. I was paying for the insurance on the car as well.
Well, who should pay for the insurance? Me?
I am.
Of course you have to pay for the insurance.
I know, and I gave him over that. Every month it would be over.
Put down $1,000. You drove the car 2 months. If I believe you that you made one payment in cash of $300 and some odd, the second month you didn't make, so I would have to deduct that from $1,000. But the car is already devalued by the time you leave.
I've also spent money repairing the car.
So? It's your car. You picked the car. That's not his problem. He was trying to be a good guy, and you took advantage of him. You, on the other hand, now have the car. Is that right?
That's right, Your Honour.
You driving it?
I'm driving it, Your Honour. I've been trying to sell it since December.
Well, I can't help you, sir. That's what you have to do. If you don't want to keep up the payments, then you have to sell it. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Very good. Next time, sir, don't be a good Samaritan. You know? How long have you been living here?
Over 6 years.
Should know better.
No.
Right?
Yeah, you're right.
Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. May step out.
She agreed to make me timely payment.
He take advantage from my daughter.
And she had no intentions whatsoever of paying this car.
Because she's lying. She paid the payment.
She was going to ruin my credit, so I had to take the car back.
And he came over and he stole the car and he leave.
Just don't help anybody.
I'm going to tell her to don't trust anybody.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hayward versus Green. Step forward.
Patricia Hayward is suing her niece, Patricia Green, for unpaid rent, late fees, and utility bills. The defendant says she lost her job and couldn't afford to pay.
Miss Hayward, this is your niece.
Yes.
Is it your sister's daughter?
No, this is my ex-husband's niece.
How long have you known her?
I've known her since 1973.
According to your complaint, your niece has had some difficulty in the past, but you allowed her to move in with you because she needed a place to stay.
Correct.
The agreement was that she pay rent. How much rent were you supposed to pay?
$500.
$500 a month. And what did that include, Miss Green?
It just said for rent. I have the rental agreement.
Can I see it, please? You agreed to pay my rent on the 3rd of each month. This is the rental agreement you gave me, right? It doesn't say what amount you're going to pay. How could you do a rental agreement without the amount of rent?
She didn't write it down. This is what she gave me.
This is what you signed. Agreement?
This is it.
People really need a form for rental agreements. I should really do that. It would help people. She wrote the $500 in afterwards. You wrote the $500 in afterwards?
We wrote the 5 in after she signed it. We were both sitting there, and we said, oh, she's the one that brought up, Trisha's the one that brought up.
Her copy doesn't have $500.
I know. I do know that.
Fine. So let's say we all agree it's $500 a month rent. This is what it's about. She moved out. She didn't pay you rent. You want the rent. You threw her out because she stopped paying rent. So you want her to pay rent and utilities. Forget utilities because your agreement doesn't provide for utilities. $500 a month rent. Did you pay rent each month that you were there?
Yes, I did.
When did you move in?
September of 06.
When did you move out?
February 1st of 08.
Why?
Because I was locked out.
You were locked out because you didn't do what?
I got laid off and wasn't able to come up with the rent.
Well, so then the answer is you didn't pay rent.
For the last month.
Which month?
November. Well, I paid in November. In December, I didn't pay.
You didn't pay in December and you didn't pay in January.
Correct.
So that's 2 months you didn't pay.
I was making payments on it while I didn't have a job. I paid $300 out of my last check, and I sold my belongings and got money to pay for that, and I cleaned the restroom. I mean, I was trying to pay it off.
Clean the restroom. I'm just asking you, the last rent that you paid, you say, was in November?
Yes, but it was $500. So really, I only owed 1 month.
Well, that's what you're supposed to pay, $500. If you paid $500 in November, then you owe December and January. And you were kicked out February 1st.
I paid all November.
I understand that, but you didn't pay December, which is a whole month.
Right.
And January, which is a whole month.
Correct. But
So
I
then-
paid for December then. I was making payments.
When did she make her last rent payment to you?
She didn't pay December, January, and she left in February.
So 2 months?
Yes.
That's what you want?
Yes.
Well, that's what it appears she didn't pay. So you lost your job.
Yeah.
And that's why you didn't pay.
Correct.
Do you have a job now?
Yes, I do.
Great. You owe her $1,000.
Fine.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000.
Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
Your
That's
Honor.
all. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She didn't pay me rent. She owes me for back utilities and everything else, and so I'm out the money.
She was never satisfied.
That's one thing she promised she would never do to me, is never me out of money.
She kept on paying me for rent.
I will pray for her every day so she does not another person like me, because it hurts.
I'm going to count us through, and I'm not done with this.
She prides herself on family. How could you pride yourself on family when you turn around?
Oh, I do pride myself in my family, and my family's with me right now.
I'd think twice, but I wouldn't let her live on the street.
And about her fake little drama right here, that's all. I can't say the word, but it's not true.
It's hard to trust again. It's really hard to trust again.
She deserves a Emmy.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gage versus Cowie, step forward, please.
19-year-old Danielle Gage is suing her ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old John Cowie, for several unpaid loans and for the cost to move after they broke up.
How old are you, Miss Gage?
19.
How old are you, Mr. Cowie?
25.
Miss Gage, it is your claim that you made a couple of loans to Mr. Cowie while you were dating.
Correct.
How old were you when you met him?
When I met him, I was 17.
When's your birthday?
In May.
And how old were you, Mr. Cowie, when you met?
23.
Were you working?
Yes, sir. Or ma'am, sorry.
What were you doing?
I was a manager at a Subway restaurant.
What are you doing?
I'm a pharmacy tech at Walgreens.
When do you claim you made your first loan to Mr. Cowie?
The first loan was made in September of '06, but he had paid that back to me. The second loan came in February of '07.
What was the second loan for?
I was informed by the defendant that his tires had been slashed at work and he had no transportation to get to work.
And?
And we talked about it. He said that he would give me the money when his first paycheck came in after the loan had occurred.
Why didn't he pay for his own tires?
Because he said he didn't have any money. He had just paid rent and car insurance and a payment on a car.
Where were you living at the time?
I was in my own apartment in Boise.
So you had rent too?
I did.
And you had a car payment?
My car's fully paid off.
Had insurance?
I did have insurance, yes.
So?
Okay, at the time my tires were slashed, was a little stressed, was up to my eyeballs in debt, trying to figure out how I was going to cover it. She met us, me and a friend of mine, at a local bar. We were trying to discuss how we were going to solve the problem. And
Well, it's your problem.
yeah, yes, ma'am. She showed up. We were actually in a relatively serious point in our relationship, looking at the potential of moving in together, even getting married. And she says, don't worry about it. We'll solve it. Here you go. Let's go get the tires.
And what did you say?
I felt about 2 inches tall, taking money from a girlfriend.
So if you felt 2 inches tall, you probably said to her, I'll pay you back.
No, ma'am.
Oh, yes, you did. Because if what you said was, I felt about 2 inches tall because I was really stressed, then you would have said to her, if you were talking serious and marriage to her, you wouldn't want her to think that you were just a bloodsucker. You would have wanted her to think you were a person of character, so you would have said, as soon as I can, I'll pay you back.
We were at a point in our
And you
relationship.
had paid her back another loan.
Yes, ma'am, earlier in the relationship. We were at a point in the relationship where we were looking at the potential of even joining bank accounts.
Yeah,
so,
but you were smart enough not to do that with her.
yeah,
Or she
things
was
fell
smart
apart
enough not
shortly
to do
after.
that with you.
I would say it was probably a mutual road. Yes, ma'am.
Good. So how much were your tires?
$400.
That you owe her. Did you pay her back?
No, I didn't.
What else?
I just wanted to point out that the only time I've ever been in a bar with the defendant is when we went to play pool, and it was not of hours of drinking. When he told me that the tires were slashed, it was in a text message, and I was at school. I also would like to point out that we had never talked about joining bank accounts. Never. Good. I actually have a check that my bank returned to me. He claims that he did not pay for that $400. He paid me a check on the 6/28/07 of $200 that went through my bank account, and then within the week was the stop payment put on the check.
What was this for, Mr. Cowie?
To shut her up. I was getting constant phone calls berating vindictive ex-girlfriend, you owe me money, you owe me money.
So you gave her a check and then you stopped payment on it?
I realized I didn't have the money in the account to cover the check, so I stopped the payment on it.
Okay. What else does he owe you money for?
I took a withdrawal out at an ATM machine for $20 so him and his buddy Russell could go
Who
to
cares?
fishing. I also have moving expenses that I would like to sue for.
What kind of moving expenses?
Even though I was not living with the defendant, I was living relatively close to the defendant. With my past history and all of the emotion and anger, and when a guy gets angry, I get very scared. I specifically told him, don't come around. I don't want to see you.
Put your hand down.
And
Miss Gage, listen to me. That part of your claim is not actionable. What you're really saying is you have a history, and based on your history, you reacted to whatever angry messages he was leaving, so you moved. That is not actionable. But certainly the money that he owes you for the tires is actionable. What do you want?
He was making sure that he was playing upon the fact that she had been abused.
I don't have to go into that. It's absolutely not necessary. Sit down. That part of her claim is not actionable. She doesn't have to discuss it with me. The fact that she chose to move because they were living too close to each other for her comfort is probably a smart thing, but she had to make it within her comfort zone, which she did based upon her history, which is not his problem. You ever get a restraining order against him?
I did not.
Good. He owes you for the tires, $400. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Thank you.
Suing her ex-boyfriend, Jeffrey Bomey, for money seized by the state from their shared bank account. Michelle says Jeffrey was behind on his child support.
Order. All rise.
Now it's case number 564 on the calendar in the matter of McComas versus Bomey.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. McComas, you and the defendant were in a relationship for a considerable period of time, and you had a joint bank account together. You separated. You decided to keep that bank account and use it as your own. You assumed that the defendant signed off on the bank account. He did not. And at some point later, the government came and took money out of your account for back child support that he owed.
Yes.
You want your money back.
Yes.
Mr. Bohm does not deny any of what I've just said. Is that right?
Correct.
So now I'm waiting for your defense, sir.
Well, it's...
I mean, I've read your answer. Your answer seems to suggest that the plaintiff kept the account open at her own risk.
Correct.
Is that your defense?
Yes. I took my money out of the account. I gave the account to her. Said she could keep it, close it. It was to do whatever she wanted to do with. It's not my fault that she didn't take her name off the account.
Are you being serious with me, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you sure you're being serious with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How many children do you have for whom you pay child support?
One, Your Honor.
How old is that child?
He's 15.
I want you to look at this lady. 15 years and 9 months ago was she in bed with the mother of your child and you?
No, ma'am.
So she had nothing to do with conceiving this child.
Correct.
Did she raise this child, sir?
No.
Who did?
My ex-wife.
Let's say your child is in a terrible accident and receives a large settlement as a result of being in this accident. And his two parents also are plaintiffs in that accident. And they get money. Look over there. Does she get any part of that money?
No, ma'am.
When you have a child, who pays for the support of that child until they're 18 years old or otherwise emancipated?
Parents.
She the parent?
No, ma'am.
What did they take the money out of the bank account to pay for?
Child support.
Because you didn't pay it.
Right. I didn't have a job, ma'am.
I don't care whether you didn't have a job. Collect cans, mow lawns, drive a cab. When you have a child, there are no excuses for not working. You do something to pay your child support. You certainly don't let it grow to over $2,000. Do we get where we're going, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Your defense is ridiculous. Your defense is ridiculous. It's not her obligation. It's yours. And because they just found a deep pocket that happened to have her money in it, but your name on the account doesn't make her responsible for your kid. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
How much was taken out of your account?
I had a total of $2,469.76 taken out.
Can I see it? Thank you. That's it. When you had this taken out, did you call him?
Yes, I did.
What did he say?
He said, I'm sorry that it's taken out of your account, and he said that he'll do anything that he could to try to get the money back.
And when was that?
I called him that same day it was taken out, and I gave him a week to come up with the money.
Did he give you any money?
No, he did not.
Did you call him again?
Yes, I did. I called him every single day that week to try to get my money back.
And ultimately?
All he kept telling me is that I'm still working on it, And then come Friday, he tells me, well, I just got a hold of the county, and we're going to go through the court system to try to get the money back.
And?
Well, the state took the money, Your Honor, so I went there to get it back.
And did you?
No, they told me she should have been in court, and she wasn't.
She should have been in court?
To prove that it was her money.
You owed the money, right?
Correct. To child support.
Are you paying child support now?
Yes, ma'am.
How much?
Approximately $350 a month.
How much were you supposed to be paying when these arrears accrued?
I didn't have the money to pay that. I was taking care of my 2 small children and paying my bills to keep my apartment.
Mr. Baum, if you have a lot of children, you better have more than one job. You're not supposed to have more children than you can afford to support. Simple. Where is the mother of these 2 young children?
She lives in Albertville with her new husband.
With her new husband?
Correct.
And she doesn't pay child support?
No, it's joint custody, Your Honor.
Oh, so you don't have them with you all the time?
No, ma'am.
Okay, right. $2,364.76.